what you call it. All right, so we're on, and I hope everyone's doing well. We were chatting a little bit before the podcast started, and Jerry, how's life by you, man? How's it going otherwise?
Well, like I was saying today, they announced that they were relaxing some of the restrictions. Like, it looks like everybody just thinks that means they're over with. To me, anyway.
So I don't even understand that, though. You're talking about the mayor's office was announcing that, right?
No, it was the governor of Indiana, Eric
Indiana. Okay,
Holcomb or whatever, and he's Mike Pence's, like, I don't know what do you want to understudy? I guess he was the protege.
Wasn't their plan through Trump's protocols to have 14 days of receding numbers?
Yeah, and they claim that. So what they've done is they've made it impossible for anybody to figure out when they're going to open. So they did it by counties. So if a county met that particular criteria, then they will get to open. But if the county next to it, like Lake County, where I live in Gary, we are one of the hot spots.
You have to be.
So.
Right?
Yeah, so we are supposedly opening later, but you could drive a mile from my house and be in Porter County, and they're opening up sooner. So that's how.
But Indiana has Gestapo everywhere, right? They're all on the road stopping people, making sure they're not traveling from county to county?
No.
Right.
That would be impossible.
Yeah, how are you going to police that?
Right.
You can't, and so it's just going to, and what do the county sheriffs show up if you are, like, because they have it by the week, like, no one knows. I was driving around today, there's 1 million people out. They think it's just, all the restrictions are lifted, and pretty soon they'll all just be wanting to go to bars, and there'll be some bar owners that will just say fuck it and open. They don't care.
Yeah, right. Well, none of it makes any sense, and that would go right back to, like, knuckleheads with the gun control stuff would say stuff like, "Look at Chicago; they've got all those gun laws and all those shootings." I go, "Yes, because we live in a free world country that you can travel from Indiana to Chicago with no. You can go to Oklahoma and get a trunk full of guns from a gun show, and then go to Chicago and sell them on the street." So, like,
so why even have a law? Well. Like, by you guys, the argument is, well, all the problems are in Cook County, so I don't know why we have to lose our small business or whatever, or we have to close, which it just doesn't. Well, like, they tried that. They tried that in Italy. They tried to close that one region down, and then everybody just fled that region because they didn't want to be locked up, and then. Then it spread all over the whole country, and then they had to end up locking it down, which is what's going to happen. Here.
But it's also not true. They said something like, there's like the majority of people that live in the entire state live in that, like, tri- or four-county area right around Chicago. So it's not all in Cook County anyway, because all the suburbs are outside of Cook County.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, none of that makes any sense. I mean, technically, Gary would be a suburb of Chicago.
Yeah, we're close.
So, like, you're in another fucking state. So it's like a whole other set of numbers. You know what I mean? That's not even included in the numbers. My favorite one right now is I'm exhausted with the people who use Google to find the result that they want to be the answer. You know what I mean? They don't search Google. Like me, I was joking with Tom today. I'm like, we needed the opposite, a word that's the opposite of fucking learning, or the opposite of research. Because you don't do research. Usually you come to, a scientist would have sort of a hypothesis as to what he thinks it is. And then he actually searches out the contrary. He's searching to find something to debunk the thing that he has come up with as his hypothesis.
Right, a true science does that.
Right. So these morons, they come up with a hypothesis, and then they find everything they can to back up that exact thing that Sean Hannity told them.
Well, if someone has a PhD or a doctorate in epidemiology or virology, which is the study of viruses, what you're saying is I should not believe them. I should believe the guy that just like
Says to
typed in
drink,
Google search.
or the guy that says to drink Lysol and stick.
Right. Like, no, like, I mean,
Come on,
these
Tom. I think we
people,
all know we shouldn't believe him.
they dedicate their lives to studying this. And if it took you 5 minutes to find some article that says like, oh, well, if you take Pepsid AC or whatever, like, or you like smoke a bunch of cigarettes, you're not going to get it. Like that doesn't, like, anybody can put up a blog. Like that's this whole protest movement is it was started by a bunch of grifters, the Dorr brothers. They find like a flashpoint, whether it's abortion or in this case it's it's the anti-quarantine movement.
Right.
And they put up a bunch of Facebook pages and they all have a big donate button on them.
Yes, they do.
And one of their pages, like I think either the Wisconsin one or one of the other states, they have 200,000 people on there. Well, even if they only get like 10,000 donations, like that's a chunk of change. And they're motivating those people, by the way, who look like they don't have jobs to go back to or businesses to go back to. I'm sorry.
Right.
And you're conflating it all with racism and Confederate images and swastikas. I mean, it looks like a lot of skinheads to me, and they're all armed.
Right.
Well, that's the crazy one, right? Like if you had a group of Latinos and blacks who strapped AK-47s to their chest and stormed the courthouse, they get tanks and blow them fuckers off the goddamn set.
Yeah.
You'd be dead. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I recently watched that miniseries on Waco.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah,
it's a really good, and you should watch it. But it will make you. It's confounding because the government clamped down on them, and they weren't doing half of the shit that these people are. They walk into the the Capitol building in Michigan armed with assault rifles and like,
not only that, like you just upped the ante for everybody else that was protesting with you that wasn't armed.
Right.
I don't think everybody there was armed. I think some people brought, some dumbass brought all their guns.
Their long guns or whatever the correct term is. It looks like a freaking machine gun to me.
Right.
But, you also have to up the hours that these first responders have to work. There's got to be cops that are assigned to that situation now, and there's got to be more of them. Now they're all together. Like, you're making it more dangerous than it has to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I've noticed the other day we had 30 bikers at the Sportsman's Club, and it looked like somebody opened up the beer garden for them to be out there. It is the biggest flag wavers that are the biggest problem right now. Like the guys that are always, so patriotic that are when we get through this thing, it'll be absolutely no fucking thanks to them.
Right.
No. Oh, God, no.
No, because you don't care about your fellow man. You don't care about the guy drinking beer next to you at the Sportsman's Club, and you certainly don't care about Bill or Jerry or Tom.
Right.
You care about yourself, and you want to go and drink beer with your buddies because it's the weekend and ride your fucking motorcycle over there or whatever you do.
Right.
And you don't think about like, well, what if half these people end up in the hospital, and then the healthcare workers are exposed. That's the biggest thing. And they've tried, but I kind of knew at the beginning of this, there's no way. We're spoiled brats as Americans. Like we can't, like, you just told me, and these are the same people probably that like we're prepping for Armageddon, stocking up on ammo and that shitty food that Jim Baker sells, like the big bucket of dried soup or whatever.
Right. I'll tell you what, I'm probably gonna over the summer, I'm definitely gonna be stocked up on everything by the time fall hits, just in case there's a second wave of this. Like I don't think I'm gonna do I'm not gonna have a pallet of fucking water in my garage or anything.
Right.
I'm definitely going to have some stuff stocked up as far as meat, and the freezer will be full just in case, like, this thing drags out. But one of the things that I like least about liberals or progressives is I get upset about the bullshit when everything is offensive and also everything is racist. Okay, so every time they see anything, they say it's racist. That's all bullshit. Some things are racist and some things aren't racist. But so here I'm prefacing my question. How much of the protest situation, looking at the protesters, seeing the demographic that's out there, there's not any black guys out there, right? There's not any Mexican guys out there in the protests. How much of it do you think is they're even more riled up now because they found out that blacks and Latinos are more affected proportionately,
Right. So like if they go out, they think that more black people will die, right?
Right.
Like, so, and that's a whole other conversation, but I would say that, there was one black guy at the Michigan protest, but a video that was very disturbing to me that I was starting to tell you guys about earlier was, they had two little kids, probably 8-year-old girls, and they were dancing to some bad parody of a song that was talking about how the government takes everything from you. And one of the little girls was in a blackface Obama mask. I mean, what the fuck does Obama have to do with
what did he take away
any
from
of this?
People?
Yeah,
well,
he's not the president, first of all.
And Trump the other day was saying the administration, prior administration gave him broken tests. That was he left in 2017. It wasn't even around.
So the short answer for me is that there's a racist component to it. But the minute that any of us say that, and it was a black reporter that took the video of the little girls dancing, and he said, "This doesn't seem to be about protesting a quarantine to me, to me this seems like it's racist." But
did you see today they were protesting there out in front of a place that was supporting immigrants? Yeah, out in Rogers Park.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you see that he got his wish finally, that he's completely closed the border, and then he's going to defund any cities that offer sanctuaries. It's all and those hardcore people that are out there protesting, this is what they want. Like, this is, keep the black people inside is what they want, and let us go about our day.
And in the mix of this is like, you do feel bad for the people that own small businesses and the people that are struggling. And part of what they were that Brendan Harris from Joliet, who led the one downtown today, he's like, well, all the money that was supposed to go to small businesses is gone. Well, yeah, dipshit. That's because the big Republican fucking corporations took it first.
It's because of fucking that's because Shake Shack or whatever sent, or all the franchisees like an email 2 weeks before this program came down, because they were in touch. Those big chains were in touch with all their Republican senators and representatives, and they said, hey, this program's coming out, get your shit together and be ready to apply. So then
but you need to do the timeline of that first aid bill that got put together by Mitch McConnell and the Republicans. They put a bill out there. They rushed to get a bill out there, and the bill was like, we're giving all this fucking money away. I mean, trillions of fucking dollars are going to give away with absolutely no strings attached. Like, it was an open invitation for corporations to come running and get that goddamn sweet fucking, trillions of fucking dollars.
And if you had your shit together and you had a relationship with a bank already, which we know all those companies do, like, all they had to do was probably press a button, and like 3 days later they got, a couple million bucks.
But then Mitch McConnell puts that bill out there, and then Schumer and Pelosi show up and say, well, no, wait, this is not how government works. The Republicans just don't get to make a bill, and then we all just sign on to it. You make a bill, and then we negotiate where the shit goes. And then Mitch McConnell just did an about face, walked right back out and said, those people over there are trying to stop you from getting money. But he doesn't explain that the bill that he put together, you aren't going to get any money. United Airlines is going to get all the fucking money.
Trump hotels are going to get the money, and all the other hotel owners, you know.
And I'm not here to defend the Democrats because, you know, I swear to God, they do things to shoot themselves in the face constantly.
All the time.
Putting the shit for the,
it's like you just want to lose.
In their putting the stuff for the Kennedy Center, and then any kind of other like pork that they try to put in there. I'm like, come on, now you've got a perfectly legitimate argument for trying to help the little man. But you got to stick in a couple $2 billion for this and that. Like, what are you doing?
I know, and that's the thing. That's the problem I have, is that they act like they're for, you know, the little guy, but they are not.
They are for their own special interests.
Yes,
same way that those other assholes are.
Yeah.
No, and there's no fight there anymore at all. Like, it's just even you know, the Democrats control the House of Representatives, right? Like, but I don't see the same kind of tactics and manipulation that Mitch McConnell, you know, wields. Nancy Pelosi is like Pelosi is like a, you know, I don't know what's the Padawan, you know, before you become a Jedi, and Mitch McConnell's like the Jedi of evil shit, Sith maybe. But when you're first learning or whatever, that's Nancy Pelosi. She's way the fuck down there, because
she's like
you got all the power. You should have put somebody in charge instead of her being speaker. I realize she knows how to get votes, but if you put someone in charge that had some fight and charisma and was willing to say, we're going to stand up to these fuckers for working people, then you would have some public support. But when you're just going to try and do everything like you always do it and hope that you can vote this fucker out in November, which I'm doubting that highly, you know. Like, I mean,
this week I'm actually feeling a little bit better about it.
Yeah.
His approval rating, the thing that they needed to do is keep that fucker talking. Because the more time he says to go ahead and inject bleach into yourself and fucking stick UV lights in your lungs.
He was being sarcastic.
Well,
he didn't say that.
No, yeah, slow down. Wait. Right. The very best part of this is all of his lackeys, all of his moron fucking supporters came running out saying, if you think he said that, you're a fucking idiot. They said that he didn't say it. That's not what he meant. They made up every fucking excuse for him. Then they put a microphone in that fucking orange idiot's face again. He's like, I was just being sarcastic. You just admitted you said it.
Right.
And I don't think he even knows what sarcastic means.
Right.
I mean,
I don't know, but
we're finding out how dumb he actually is.
Right. That's the point. So keep him talking.
Yeah.
Is he a tool of Mitch McConnell and some of these super evil fuckers, or is he just a mean old son of a bitch at the end of the bar, and
probably
he just
both.
Wants to? Yeah, there's probably both.
I think neither. I think he wants to be loved by everyone, so he licks his finger, puts it in the wind to see which way it's blowing, and then he does those things, and then his Republican handlers get a hold of him and explain to him what is best for his base, and then they get him to do what they want him to do. Yeah. But this guy has been able to do things. What makes my head explode is the tariff situation is a historically democratic, progressive thing to do, because we cannot compete with China's labor for manufacturing, right? So it's cheaper to take everything to build something, put it on a ship, ship it all the way to China, have them build it, ship it all the way back here again, and then we can sell it, than it is to have someone build it here. So the tariffs would try and equal the playing field. Republicans wanted a world economy, and they didn't want tariffs. But somehow Trump gets out there and says tariffs, and now his supporters are like, tariffs are smart. That's the thing to do. I'm like, I'm not going to argue.
So is he in control of, like, that's never been clear to me. I remember listening to something and reading some stuff about how complicated those trade policies are, and they go, it's like line by line. It's like, this piece of plastic that weighs this amount is this, gets this specific like 0.0156 tariff if you're importing it, and then if you're exporting it, it's a whole other, it's not something that Trump could just say, we're going to charge it across the board 20% more on shit coming in, right? Like,
yeah, that's the thing that he's got that backwards too. That's not the way that tariffs work is the problem. But he keeps repeating that China is paying these tariffs. China is not paying the tariffs. If China has things that come into this country, it is the importer, the American, that pays
right.
that tariff.
And it gets passed on to the consumer.
Well, it can only get passed. The middleman. He's not manufacturing anything. All he can do is pass that cost on. There's nothing else he can do with it. He can't eat it. This is how he makes his money. It's importing the goods from China and then getting it to the American company here that's selling it. So it has to be added on to what goes on because that's all he does. He handles the import. So, but Trump gets on the news and constantly says that he's making China pay tariffs. China doesn't pay. China pays tariffs.
No, the consumers are paying.
Right. China pays tariffs if they put tariffs on the stuff that we export to China. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the only time that they pay tariffs.
So the goods come here, the company that's bringing it in, they pay the tariff.
They have to pay the tariff, right? And that's what's supposed to. So it's supposed to be like, all right, listen, if you're going to get a set of cotton shirts from China or a set of cotton shirts from Georgia, the set of cotton shirts from Georgia is on time and material, like whatever the manufacturer's charging. Obviously, it's going to be cheaper for the shirt to come from China. So we add a tariff that equals so the manufacturer here can still make a living. That's the whole idea. Is that you have manufacturing in this country.
So, you're just even, but we don't have the manufacturing capability to make stuff anymore. Yeah. Like, I think we've talked about this before. We just buy shit. That's all we do. We just buy stuff. Right. Like that's what our economy is based on is just consumption. So
our minimum wage worker makes factory workers make $8 or $9 an hour in this country an hour. In China, the guy makes $2 a day.
Right.
I mean, math. It adds up.
But
fast.
that's we do make a lot of meat. This is an interesting thing that I wanted to talk about now that we've bored everyone to death on tariffs. I mean, no. People really love to talk about.
Well, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, because all the jobs
interesting.
have gone. I remember when Obama was on Letterman, and Letterman asked him, like, can we ever get manufacturing back in this company? Obama's like, no, we'll never do it.
No, because we have all the factories you would have to build the infrastructure to be able to make shit again. Like you would have to reopen some of those car factories and some of the,
that you'd have to go into China and do human rights situations where China makes laws that you can't pay someone $2 a day, put them in 3 or 4 hammocks high until they run off the fucking edge of the building because they want to kill themselves. Like there's 1 billion people in China. Most of them live rurally. And they just come into these metropolises to get these shitty jobs because there's no job in the rice paddy anymore.
Right. And if you don't work, you starve there. There's no safety net.
But throughout history, those things, eventually people do rise up against those things. Eventually. I mean, are we just riding this thing until something happens?
Until the next country that is desperate enough to force their people into indentured servitude, which is what, like, and not to say there are people that have a lot of money in China, but those are the people that serve the party, right? They serve the Communist Party, and they've made deals to run a factory or whatever. And those people do live better,
Right. There's not a true communist country where everybody's equal. There's always.
No, no, it's
right.
no. The rich people get to stay rich, even if
Right.
it's communist. It's not like a utopia where everyone just gets a certain amount of money to live on and everyone
Right.
drives the same exact car. And no,
Yeah.
I mean, you saw that with Russia. You just had a bunch of people at the top stealing,
Yeah.
which arguably that's what we have here. I mean, there's no, we
Oh,
shouldn't delude ourselves into
no.
thinking that is not the case. I mean, every single person in Congress is a millionaire, right? I mean,
Yeah.
or
Billion.
10 or 100 times that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? I know it is boring, the tariff thing, and even like talking about the differences between communism, socialism, and capitalism, and all that stuff. The problem is, like, I actually like those in-depth conversations on a podcast because
Right.
the problem is 90% of the population doesn't understand any of that. They think that if you have, a national healthcare program, then all of a sudden you're going to be, communist Russia. Like that's not how it works. Like,
No.
even just straight socialism, the government owns industry. They own the fucking mineral rights to the entire country.
Right.
The national oil producers are the government. We don't have any of that. No one's saying we're going to do any of that. We're just saying that certain things like education and healthcare are things that you absolutely need to have. You can't put someone in a situation that's like, I got cancer. How much can you charge me for cancer treatment?
Right. Well, in a capitalist country and in a consumer-based economy, you can't kill your, like, it's almost like a virus. Like, if you kill your host, then you're going to die too. So if you don't educate these people that you want to work for you and make you your money and trudge off and do whatever the hell you want them to do, they can't buy anything.
Right.
So like your structure falls apart if you don't have people that are alive, healthcare, and people that can read and write and do basic things. Because eventually, if you just have a bunch of dumb fuckers that that never read a book, like, you can only do a certain amount of things with those people, right? Like, they're not going to be doing like AI programming or engineering or building any kind of structures that are safe for people to, a bridge to drive over, that you're not going to have any of those people if you continue to charge, some of these colleges, you could pay $80,000 to $100,000 for a 4-year degree, like,
or a year. Some of them even a year for that. But go ahead, Jared.
No, I'm sorry, I was done.
But like, even with the way we fund schools, it's horrible. It's just wrong. I mean, you fund it by property taxes, so the poorer neighborhoods, they don't have the resources so the poor people stay poor, and the rich and the middle, the middle class and upper middle class, they stay upper class and upper middle class.
I guarantee you, if you ask the Trump supporter what country had the best chance for upward mobility, they would tell you this country. But if you statistically look at it, we're one of the worst countries.
Yeah.
For mobility. If you are born in a poor neighborhood, and they'll cite what about Ben Carson? I'm like, okay, we're trying to do numbers and averages and statistics. Yes, you can find an outlier all the time.
Right. All the time, right.
But that doesn't disprove the fact that most of them can't.
Right.
Well, that's the whataboutism, and that's whenever you point out that's, something like that, which is true, you'll always from that particular side, you'll get, well, what about this freak, what about Michael Jordan? He got cut from his high school basketball team.
Right.
It's a fucking 1 in a billion fucking chance that there's a Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah, but what about the kid that can't play basketball? He can't run fast.
Right.
He's in that poor school. What about him? Those are the people we need to address. Those are the people we need to help.
Right. And what if there is what if you got a kid in an inner city at Chicago public schools that is a genius, but because the school system is so garbage, you know what he does? He's like, well, the best way for me to make money, I'm gonna run a drug dealing business, like,
Yeah.
because fuck,
Well,
if I don't,
you go into survival mode, right?
right.
Like we were all, we weren't all brought up rich or whatever, but we were middle class, comfortable. I mean, we weren't like,
I
there
was never
times,
like starving. Like,
yeah,
if you're going to talk about that, like,
right,
there were
and
some bad times, but
we all went through some bad times,
yeah.
but I never worried about walking out of my house and getting shot, laying down in my bedroom at night,
and starving,
right,
and not being able to go to like the dentist or the doctor when you got
right,
sick and have
right,
medicine,
right.
because a lot of those kids, like, they might be on Medicaid, but then their mom works, so like,
Yeah.
you're 5 years old and you get strep throat, and you're like, and your mom just says, well, stay home from school, and I don't have time to take you to the doctor. I mean, those are all stuff that we never had to deal with,
Right.
frankly.
And those are kids. Like the kids didn't choose their parents. They're,
Right.
they just, they're just born into this. So why are we not trying to help kids? Why are we punishing kids for their parents, whatever
because they're black and brown, and we don't care about those
Well,
people,
that comes about from the Reagan administration when they made up the entire welfare queen, nonsense that, and then like what's that?
Well, they took like you said, they took an outlier, someone that was potentially taking advantage of the system, and then they exaggerated it to the point of ridiculousness too, right? Which is what they do.
What's the douchebag that Project Verify or whatever I'm talking about, that fucking douche that like up and like goes and gets the people at the welfare office to say the wrong thing, and then he tapes them and then he edits it.
Yeah.
Puts it out there and he makes it. He finds
Planned Parenthood. He did those videos.
He finds the one asshole that's fucking cheating the system, and then he makes it the poster boy for every single person that's in that system, which is bullshit. Now, the three of us have talked about the welfare system being a trap to begin with. So, like, you've got that going against you, and then you've got these other assholes that are, producing these stupid videos that try and make everybody that's, like, it drives me nuts. If you look at a state like Mississippi, it is a welfare state. The state is a welfare state. There are towns in that state that 80% of the people are on disability. And if you went through the town, you wouldn't see motherfuckers like me rolling around. You'd see just people walking around, be like, my back, I can't go, do my job anymore, and I'm going to collect disability. Yeah. It has more to do with the minimum wage being so small and the amount of benefits they're getting through disability being so close to what they're getting for their job anyway.
Yeah.
You figure they might as well just disability and not go to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, but if we gear the conversation more towards these protesters and then the nonsense that me and Jerry see on social media with the people talking about, well, Sweden didn't lock anything down, and look at that. Now, Illinois has 13 million people.
Yeah, but they're posting data from like. Hello.
No, you there? We were waiting for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, like when they post that shit about Sweden, like they're posting data that's like from the a month ago. Like, do you know like how relevant is that data?
Right.
From a month ago.
I don't know, but didn't Trump come out and say Sweden failed? Didn't he come out and say that?
Yeah, well, yeah, because he's doing the best job. We only have like 62,000 dead people, which is more than any other country.
I know. So, and on April 1st, what did we have? Like 4,500 or 5,000 or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. But like.
And that's with everything shut down.
Right.
What is going to happen? Do they just think that this now, because you had you had this minor incremental daily death rate that fell, and now you're gonna just open shit back up, which is just
well, okay. Now, so I want to make sure that anyone listening understands that my work is seasonal, right? So like, I mean, most of my money that gets made for the year gets made right now. Like it is April, May, June, July, August, like just right when the sun's shining, that's when I make money. So I desperately want these goofy statistics that they've twisted and everything else to be totally true. Like if I was just someone who wanted to get confirmation bias by looking at Sweden and saying, that's what I want. So open everything up so I can go make my goddamn money, because, you know, if I don't make money all summer, that's going to be definitely detriment. Come December, I'm not going to sell homes or construction jobs the way that I do in June and July.
Right.
Like, that's not going to happen. So I have a desperate want for it to be that they want it to be. But I still can understand that just because I want it to be doesn't make it so. So
right.
I can look at the Sweden and say, okay, Sweden by square miles is 3 times the size of the state of Illinois in square miles. But it has 3 million less people than the state of Illinois has. And all you've got is Stockholm, Copenhagen, and one other city that hold most of the people, like in Sweden. Then the rest of the population lives in villages that are 300 people or less.
Right.
Wow.
So yes, you don't have to shut that down because there's fucking people there and they can all social distance by a little bit of rules, and you don't have any problem because you don't have the same population.
Well, also, you have universal health care in Sweden and all that, and
that's
free, you know, like
right.
There's no one starving there. You don't see like
they have a
videos
different
of
mentality
all the homeless people in Sweden. Like, isn't this, how could a nation let people live like this? No, I don't know. And I get some people that I thought were like smart before this. Now I think they're not so much. Like it just because like.
I agree.
But statistics are a funny thing because you can isolate and do certain math to come up with almost
you can make the numbers look however you want
scenario you want, and
especially
when you think all the numbers are fake to begin with, because then you can just say, well, they're lying about the amount of dead people. They're lying. What my most hated thing right now, I think, is, well, did they really die from COVID or did they die from something else? And they just said it was COVID. And somebody posted today from some ridiculous like blog or whatever, 99% of COVID deaths are deaths from had underlying conditions.
But they wouldn't have died if they would have had COVID, though.
No,
whatever their underlying condition was, they
doesn't make the underlying condition is like whatever they had. Oh well, they had a cold and then they got COVID. So they had a cold, so they were already compromised, right?
Regardless of whatever they had diabetes or some kind of whatever they had before. Doesn't matter because they'd be alive if they didn't get the COVID.
Remember when insurance companies would deny everyone that had a
pre-existing
thing, right? That's the exact same situation. So, you know, I got cancer. Well, insurance company can't cover you because you had diabetes. What the fuck does that have to do with that?
Right.
But you probably got cancer from the diabetes medicine that you were taking.
Or you didn't disclose that you had cancer. Well, I didn't know until like 2 years later. Well, I think you lied. You knew.
I think you lied.
But, you know, I mean, there are people that all they do is deny medical claims like all day, 40 hours a week. You know, that's what they do, you know, because the assumption is, and I think this is a kind of goes back to like the protesters or whatever. The assumption is that they, like, from their perspective, everyone's a terrible person and they're trying to like get over on the other person.
Like Lindsey Graham said, if we give everybody $1,200, they're not going to want to go back to work. They're going to sit around on $1,200.
Right.
It's going to last like a week.
Yeah. Like, does he live in, like, how is he's a multimillionaire? He doesn't even fucking what is $1,200?
Now what? So
Wow.
some things are hard because they're not. You can't try and like Google and fact check it. Like I can't. The thing that you said, Jerry, I can't fact check that, right? I can't. There's no statistic that would disprove this outlandish claim that 99% of the people had, some underlying condition, right?
You can't add
Well,
those.
doesn't
You can't.
everyone
But
have
no,
some
but like
underlying?
what Bill's saying is you can't go to every hospital and mark down what each patient had before they came in, right?
Yeah, like,
That's-
well, Jerry had high triglycerides, but he died. Like, he technically died of COVID, but he had those high triglycerides. So, like,
Right.
I also can't.
Who's to say? Like,
I can't question
was-
people either, right? So I can't figure out if they died of something else after they're dead. The other one that I saw was hospitals are getting more money for COVID deaths than they are. Okay, that's got to be bullshit. Like, where the fuck are you getting this fucking information from? And where is the hospital getting the money from? Who? Like, where are they?
Yeah, from who? Right, good question.
Right, doesn't make any fucking sense. So, like, but none of that's like, I can't. There's not a database that you can draw this number from. So they throw these fucking bullshit like statements out there, and then there's like nothing you could say. I'm like, oh, fucking whatever. Like, say whatever you want to say, and then you can't chase some motherfucker down a rabbit hole either of bullshit. It's like I'm in a world of bullshit, and I'm trying to disprove you. That's the thing. That's the popular thing on social media now, is to make this monstrous diatribe of like 95% bullshit, and they'd be like, what do you think about this, Bill? And I'm like, I think I'm not going to respond.
Yeah, here, like,
novel you just
shooting you a million links to a million websites where you click on it and it says this website may like have malicious, like,
already been removed,
malware on it or whatever.
Right.
And like, but and it's like, I think the 99% one was like 123 News or something, like, it was like some stupid and I'm just like, so it's become like, I think we've talked about this before, or at least you and I did, like, it's become so easy when I came to your house, like, to have like a legitimate, you put up a website and you say, oh, we're 123 News, and like you put a big front page or whatever on it, and then you just say whatever the fuck you want, and before you know it, you got some Facebook guy citing you like you're a like a published
that's
doctor.
Fox News and CNN.
Yeah,
they're not news. They're not news.
It's entertainment.
I was talking with my cousin Tim, who he's like a tech guy and stuff like that. But I'm like, dude, we need to figure out a way to make money. I know that Fox News is doing it already and everything else off of this thing where people seek out their content. Like, I want to make a website that or a podcast that the episode number 3 is, yes, you are still considered brave, even though you bought 10,000 rounds of ammunition and a small arsenal because you're afraid of everything.
Right.
Yes, you're still brave. Don't worry.
You're brave because you got the gun on your hip. Now you're brave.
Yeah, and your American flag face mask, which I also think, if this is if you're going to these protests to open everything up, you should be like, yo, you're carrying a sign that says this is a hoax. I think I saw one picture where a guy was in like a full hazmat suit, like it wasn't even.
The one protester
said COVID is a hoax or whatever. Why the fuck do you have a mask on then? Like, are you just like, oh?
They all were like,
case.
Open up Illinois Illinois.
Well,
they all had masks on.
I say that all the
time. They should have shirts that say "lick me" instead of that on there. They should just be like,
I mean, but like the one guy I sent you today, Bill, he was like, he wrote a letter to the governor. Was like, yeah, all right, we saved lives. It's not as bad as the Spanish flu, or no, it's not as bad as Spanish flu, or no, and then the Hong Kong flu or whatever in 1957. Yeah. It's better than that. So let's open up Illinois. And it's like, you just said we save lives by doing this, you fucking idiot.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, and I understand, like, people want to make a living, but it does show you that the government could help people if
they could.
They could just say, we're shutting everything down. We're going to make sure that everybody has food. We're going to
Mhm.
deliver it. We're going to keep our delivery infrastructure with the post office. We're going to keep those people safe, but we're going to make sure that they get you what you need. And the
Right.
first thing you're going to get is a test. And we're going to send you a test every 2 weeks. And we want you to send this in so we can track where the infections are. If you're asymptomatic, if you've already had it, we want to test the antibodies, all that stuff, because that's what South Korea did.
Yeah. But like at the same time too, couldn't the government be going, all right, hey, banks, landlords, if you have a small business in your strip mall or whatever, forgive the rent. You know, the bank's
Right.
not going to try to collect from you. You don't try to collect from them. You know, and at the same time, like some in the beginning, what these protests, and then I think it went off the rails was, hey, nobody's telling us the exact plan of what's going
Right.
to happen. No one's telling us the data points that we're looking for on a regular basis. Like they should be driving that home. Like Jerry, what you were saying with Indiana, they should have been driving home this, so it could have been very clear to everybody what's open and what's not.
Right.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
they should have said right from the beginning, everybody's shut down till June. Like we don't give a shit. Because then there's no question, and we're going to look at it at the end of June, and we're going to let you know on June 20th if everything is going to be open, because you would have flattened the curve probably enough. But when you have
they definitely closed some dumb shit though too. Like they closed the state parks and stuff like that. And I'm like, listen, I've been to the state parks. There's one right here in Kankakee 5 dozen times, and I've almost never seen a ranger, and I've never seen one like they had to be by me or something like that.
Right.
It's thousands of acres. Like you should let, like, you know, like, I don't know, some things you just got to have open. Like, I mean, granted, at the Kankakee State Park, there will be like a building. It's a decent sized building with like 5 people in there. Okay, you guys just don't be by each other, and then you know you're not gonna have a problem.
It's under Jerry.
The problems that you end up with are the meatpacking plants where they're shoulder to shoulder in there working, and then 900 people end up being. This thing is all about population density. It's all about how close are we together.
Right. Totally.
So
well, that's like at the post office. That was my concern. Like in the morning, we're all butted up against each other, and some of these post office, you could have 1,000 letter carriers in there, and you're all in the same room for a couple hours, but you're right next to each other. And you know, luckily in our particular population segment, you know, we don't work 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours next to each other, but in those meat packing plants, that's what's happening. And Trump ordered them to go back to work. Like, I don't understand, like, how.
I think that's got to be put on. So there's things that you could. Okay, so there's things that don't make any sense to me. If you're someone that owns rentals and the government says, okay, you don't got to pay any rent. Well, I get it, but then again, I don't, because how does the person that owns the rental pay the taxes on the property?
Or if they have a mortgage on it.
Unless they're relieved of it. Well,
if you're relieved of the mortgage, right, you can get away from that. But the property taxes could be $4,000 a year. How do you foot that bill when you're bringing in nothing on that property?
It's very complicated.
It is complicated. There's no easy answer to that, is there?
No, right. No, there's
well, you give people money at the bottom level, and then they just pay their bills.
Well, I have an answer. It's my own. I know it's my own question, but the answer would be, instead the state gets its revenue from our property taxes. I think the state would put together a bill and say, listen, this is the revenue we would have brought in. We need to push that on to the federal government. So the trillions of dollars you're doing in stimulus, pay the state back. And the state says there's a moratorium this year on property taxes, and no one pays any property taxes for the year.
That's a good idea.
You know what I mean? Like then the government, the federal government, be on the hook for those property taxes for that 1 year, instead of handing, you know, Amazon a bunch of money and Shake Shack and Like these people, I mean,
Lose Chris.
Harvard picks up fucking $9 million.
The Lakers. Can you believe that?
The Lakers got
God.
money?
Yes, they gave it back, but so that's the other thing. It's like, if you fucking applied for that, now I know, like, you had to actively apply for that,
Right.
and you were gonna hope that nobody fucking saw that you got that money, and you were gonna hide it, and now you're like, oh, and Shake Shack, I think, did the same thing. They gave it back.
Yeah, they
But
did. Yeah.
You didn't like. My podcast is a small business, right? Like, so, like, I didn't just get a bunch of money in my business account. Like, if I wanted money and I thought that my business was impacted by this, then I would have had to apply for the money, right? Like, so the Lakers applied for the fucking money.
You know what? We should say stuff more about that, Jerry. Jerry's got the So Cool podcast. It is a funny. They spoof on all kinds of different stuff. And, by all means, if you're checking this podcast out, check Jerry's podcast out. They put together, like, if you're watching this podcast, this is a very low production value compared to what.
I don't know about that, but we try to offend as many people, and we do not. It's quite the opposite. We are not serious about anything, and we don't do. I mean, we did do a little COVID stuff this season, but like most of it is racist and sexist and whatever other thing that we could do, but it's all meant to just be funny. And
you guys do like a whole where you're writing and everything else. It's a far more production than just.
We have our own commercials that we put together, and it's we're trying to be funny, but it's one thing that I get enjoyment out, and I appreciate you mentioned it, Phil. So
no, I mean people are looking for something to do, something different. Just some of it's people our age would enjoy it because there's some retro stuff in there that's like very.
It's 1980s,
yes,
and we did make a comedy album also, which is also available on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon. It's called D's Nuts. So, I mean, you could imagine it's, we would dig that album at 16. So like kind of when I wrote most of it, that's where the mindset comes from. Cause I don't think I've matured beyond that anyway. So
most of our friends have it.
So if you're looking to get back to 16, listen to it, and again, you will be offended.
Right, it's the perfect thing for our generation. If my 18-year-olds listen to it, they wouldn't get some of the jokes because some of it's very 80s orientated. They'd have to know what's going on.
I don't know, but thank you. So what were we talking? What serious fucking shit were we talking about?
Right. The whole thing with the I like the podcast that I want to do all the time is I want to go deeper into things so that someone that's listening, that's casually listening, can be like, all right, well, you know what, I didn't know anything about. I know it's so boring, tariffs and shit like that, but like the true situation with this COVID thing, it's look at the prisons. 80% of that one prison in Indiana turned up with. Right. Everybody was positive. 80% of a fucking prison. Holy fucking shit. So the meatpacking plants, you're all together. The damn kids on the Navy submarine that are all stacked together end up all screwed up with it. And then cruise ships, right? Because you're all together. Like it's anytime you stack New York, right? That's the most dense population area in the country. And then you end up with this problem. And it's a real fucking problem. Then
nursing homes.
The bullshit of these numbers aren't real numbers. And I go down rabbit holes on this shit, and it drives me nuts. When someone says, well, how come the death rate they pick a city, Miami is the same? Well, as it was before COVID. They're like, well, first off, Miami doesn't have a monstrous death rate from COVID to begin with. Secondly, there's tens of thousands of people that die from driving accidents, there's no bars open right now. Everybody's drinking, they're drinking at home. So those accidents are not happening.
Yeah.
So crime rates are down as far as people are not out and about getting mugged. Like that's not happening right now.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to Bill, like you're looking for confirmation of your stupid hypotheses. You compare apples and oranges all the fucking time.
What?
You know?
Right. Well, then just take into consideration that people aren't out doing if you were going to go out skydiving, you're not doing that right now. Like those are not things that are happening. I mean, I have 2 vehicles in my garage, and I have probably not put 200 miles on them in the 2 months that we've been sticking around here. My son's freaking truck, I don't think it's got 100 miles on it in the 2.5 months that we've been here.
I filled up March 12th.
Yeah, right.
I still got a half a tank.
So, like, right, those jobs aren't happening. There's all kinds of stuff that's not going on. I would guarantee you that construction, workman's comp cases have gone down too because they're just not there on those jobs.
Yeah, when we were doing that ground for the pool that I told you about, I rented one of those transit levels, and I was just talking to the guy. I'm like, so you guys, because I figured, do-it-yourselfers like me, this is the time to get in there. And the guy's like, no, he's like, we don't have. He's like, we're slow. We're really slow, Right. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're gonna go. Like I said, we're gonna go back to work next week, and I don't know, like, how that's gonna be. Like, we figured out if I want to go over to Lowe's, I can go on the website, order it, and then pull into one of the like parking spots that they've got for curbside.
Yeah.
Bring the thing out, throw it in the back of the vehicle, and then we're out of there. I don't have to talk to anyone, do any of that shit.
Yeah.
That's fine. My lumber yard that I use, I don't think they're letting anyone in the showroom. They're just having you order it, on whether it by email, whatever, and then they'll deliver it. If you're a decent contractor, you're not making 55 fucking trips to the lumber yard anyway. You get everything delivered to begin with, but that's the way they're going to do it.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and do the best we can with what's going on. I would think that material lists that I had done last winter would be cheaper right now than what they were last winter because the demand's got to be down.
Yeah, right. The good thing is with decks is like you don't have to go inside the person's house as much and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're having a little. I don't know what Jerry's not there, but whatever sound it's making there keeps going to Jerry.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on.
He needs to get his act together
Hello?
over there.
I'm sorry.
You got your shit together now, or what? Bill, me and Jerry are like your Eddie Bravo and Brendan Schaub on Joe Rogan.
Yeah. But that's what I like about this stuff. Like this is, we're just some friends in a conversation, and for me, it's entertaining. You know what I mean? Like I'm enjoying myself, having a couple of drinks, and then
absolutely
talking with you guys, and then we can maybe bring up some points that somebody hasn't thought about as far as that goes, if they're open-minded. Listen, I want so badly for the people that have a contradictory view of what's going on. I would love for it to be true. I would love to find out tomorrow that it was all a hoax. I would, because then we could all just go back to work and never worry about any of this shit at all.
Right.
That would be best case scenario, right? That this was all fake.
Right.
I mean, point,
it's a big that big black cloud that I don't. It's over.
Nobody
everything
really died
right now
from this. Everything, it was all some simulation.
It was just to destroy Trump, which I just don't understand that argument.
Now, my favorite is it's just to make him look bad.
He doesn't need any help doing that.
And he looks bad.
He is awful. He's awful.
It amazes me that the amount of shit that people will take, though. Like I never thought it would get to this point.
What do you mean the amount of shit that
the amount of shit people will eat in service of him, even like with legislature, like if when Nancy Pelosi ripped up that whatever copy of the speech or whatever, like okay,
that
whatever.
was pretty stupid.
But like the news anchors, everybody, like just call him a piece of shit liar. Like we all know that. Like, why not go after him? Like, he's going after them. Like, I'd be like,
all
oh,
the
well,
time, yeah.
he called me a piece of shit. So you know what? I've done an investigation and I've figured out all this dirty shit that he's done, and we're gonna fucking put it out, and we're gonna put it out every day, and I'm gonna call him a fucking asshole. Like, every day I get on the air, I'm gonna do that.
So what do you think? You think that news reporters don't, like, they have the attention span of a fucking squirrel? Because you would think that they would, like, I could sit down and be like, all right, here's the timeline. You said this, you said this, you said this, you said this, you said this. It's all bullshit. Like, I don't understand. Like, so, like, you would think you'd have ammo ready for this guy. But then the other thing that's bullshit about those press conferences, every time it gets rough, he's like, John, do you have a question, John?
Yeah, he's got the plan.
Is that fucking Southern guy that's always like, well, Mr. President,
you've been doing such a
what are you going to do about the economy? You know, like,
but
we had such a great economy before, you know, like, or he'll pick some like foreign reporter that has no.
How great could the economy be if 2 months into something, everybody's going to lose their house and everything? How great of an economy could we possibly have if a couple paychecks go by and everyone's fucked?
And everyone has to go protest and do a bunch of people have to do armed protests because they want to go. I mean, they legit had signs like, I want to get a haircut. Like, I just never, like, what the fuck? Like, is that, like, you made a fucking sign?
And it's been, what, 7 weeks?
Yeah, I go 7 weeks all the fucking time without getting a haircut.
I mean, not talking about a hair. I was talking in general.
But seriously, like, and like the women can't get their hair dyed. I mean, I don't know. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy, right?
The big problem I got is every one of those signs they spelled hair HARE.
Right.
But I mean, I just think that these guys are looking for any little inch that they can take to, you know, they're talking impeach Pritzker and all that other stuff. We stand for the Constitution. Well, your president was blackmailing another country. Isn't that against the Constitution?
he has been impeached, and that will be forever. So even though he wasn't removed, but I would argue, like, when you kill more people, or you're in charge when more people die than any other. Like the Vietnam War, lasted 10 years.
Right.
And you
I don't know
how
what the numbers will do as far as that goes. It's really devastating that there's a lot of people losing, you know, whether they're infirmed or not, but you're losing relatives, you lose all these people. But when you lose people at a click of 2,000 people a day, boy, just 10 days goes by and you got 20,000 more. So I don't know where this is going to stop at, like where it's going to die off at. But boy, it's a lot of people. I mean, 10 days now, you could have 85,000 people gone.
Well, the doctor from Northwestern, Dr. Murphy, was on Channel 9 this morning, and they said, what do you expect is going to happen as we loosen these states loosen these stay-at-homes? He's like, put on your seatbelt because it's going to get worse.
Well, don't they have, I thought they had in Germany, when they were loosening things up, they had an uptick.
They did, but they had, you know, they're testing everyone. Like, I don't even know anyone that's gotten tested. Like, that's, you know, like,
yeah, I know one fireman that got tested because he came home and he had a cold. And
well, any first responders, they've told us at the post office too, there's some drive-up testing centers that we were told that, you know, anyone that's working like in healthcare or, you know, that has to go out there or whatever, like, you can get tested. But it's not like you're getting a test in your mailbox, Tom, for you guys. Like, before we all go back to work, shouldn't we just make sure that almost everybody is tested?
Yeah,
I don't know if that's even feasible.
But I mean, that's the idea.
No, we have all this fucking technology. We have all these.
Obama gave him broken tests. Obama gave broken tests. It's no good.
I mean, but part of it is like they don't have the we don't have the capacity for a pandemic, and that should be a plan for when the next one comes, because
The next
you
one's
should
coming.
have all the reagents, you should have all the stuff. Every hospital, every doctor's office should be required to stock any lab company, Quest, because I know now what's happened is most doctors' offices have subbed out their testing capacity, right? Like you can't go to the doctor and get tested for anything. It gets sent to, if the hospital has an in-house lab, it'll get sent there, but most of it gets sent to like Quest or one of these big testing companies. So
Right.
that's sort of a problem, because when you have something like this, there's no capacity for it, right? Like you don't have enough people to do the tests.
But didn't 30? Wasn't today like the biggest day in like a long time that people tested positive today in Illinois?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
So as more tests come out, we're gonna find out more people got it.
Right.
Now, okay, so let me ask a real weird. We're talking about the technology of like tracing this thing. So, like, because there's the conspiracy theory stuff, which I want to get to at some point today, because that stuff is hilarious.
Yeah, I need a good chuckle.
It's
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, so okay, if what you call it, if there was
Dad
a
luck there.
way of chipping somebody, like putting a, like, have you seen the chips that like there's a company that they were putting chips in their arms, and they could like open doors and like get things out of vending machines and stuff like that.
Where was that? I heard about
What
that.
if they could put a chip in you that would tell you, first off, if you had COVID, or second off, if you were near somebody that had COVID, like, so that the what is it called? It's contact tracing. That's what they're doing in Germany, right? So when they find somebody that's got it, they disperse a team of 5 people that go and disperse from there to go whoever they contacted. If everybody had in their phone their where their location is.
Well, that's what they did in China. They did an app on their phone, so they could track all the people, and then
South Korea too, right?
Yeah. And I'm not against that, but you're not going to get Americans to do that. There's no even. It's not even.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. That what would it take, conspiracy theory wise, for Americans to get a chip? Like, so did you see the Ghost in the Shell movie that everyone had enhancements, right? So what sort of enhancement would it take for you to get the enhancement, but it comes along with a chip?
With the loss of some sort of freedom.
Right.
So they can track you wherever you go if you got a chip.
They can track you now with your phone. You'd have to throw your fucking phone away. No one's doing that.
Right.
Right.
But so you get an enhancement where you can see further. You can, whatever the enhancement is, like Ghost in the Shell. But also it comes with a tracking, like just like your phone does, right? Like, okay, so if they came up with a chip that went behind my ear, but I could access Google like I do on my phone, right? So if I had a question, I could just mentally ask myself, pull up a database, and fucking have the question answered. I'd get that in a heartbeat. Like, I'd want to be that smart.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know if it's worth the price.
Really?
Yeah. Well, when I can pull it up on my phone, I don't have to have it inside of my body. I don't have to have it on me 24/7.
I just don't want to die. I don't even really give a shit. Put it whatever. Put a fucking UV light up my ass. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to get this because it's bad. And then you die and there's no.
Would it be for the next pandemic? For the thing that would be like 30%?
I think you have to have testing capacity, and it's embarrassing. And like, I don't know if you guys have watched the movie Parasite, but it's
no.
It's a very good movie.
No, why did the Koreans win? We gave it to the Korean. Why did the Koreans win?
Well, that movie shows that it's similar to our society in the way that people that have to work and scrape along for a living, they live in squalor. You know, they live in these like sub-level apartments or whatever. But
Yeah.
for some reason, you know, like one of the scenes is like the sewage, like it rains for a couple days, and then like in all these apartments, like the sewage just backs up, and you're just like it's spewing out of the toilet or whatever. And like these are like a family of people or what, but whatever. So they have a huge difference between like the rich people and the poor, you know, working people, as ours does.
Yeah.
But in spite of this, they were able to basically almost eradicate this virus because the people will do what they're told there. Like it's not North Korea, but it's not.
Germany.
It's not.
Germany's the same, right? Germany's a tight society.
It's not here. Those people will do what they're told, and that part of that movie is like if you're in this social class, like you're in it. Like there's no aspiring to like be like, you know, like climb the ladder. Like if you're poor and your family's poor,
you know,
like
you're
staying that way. Yeah. They're folding pizza boxes for money. That's what they do, you know, and then
So let's try to convince Tom's the skeptic. Let's try and convince Tom. So what do I have to put on the table, Tom? So okay, you put the chip in your arm and you get the intelligence, like I said. You also get that you can go anywhere and pay for. No one can ever steal your identity because you're the only one with the chip in you that could, you know, your credit cards, your bank accounts, everything is your stuff because that's your chip that's in you, right? So you can't like steal your wallet and go pay for stuff. The other advantage would be this situation with the whole pandemic. The next pandemic that comes, you would know right away what everybody is as far as that. Okay, I could also do like the Matrix, right? I could hook up to that chip and download Kung Fu, and you know Kung Fu.
Right.
So
I'm
saying, where's the line at?
I don't know. If I can download some Kung Fu, I might be in.
You might get the Kung Flu.
So what I'm saying is,
which is the COVID.
These viruses and stuff like that, it's not really that complicated. With technology, you could honestly beat this, right? You could totally beat this situation if you could track it.
Tell me why we have to leave our houses. I mean, can anyone tell me what, like, legit? Like, I understand, like, going outside and getting exercises and like, and just for your sanity.
Mental health, right?
But we can have, like, we are in a society where we can have virtually everything delivered to our fucking house.
Yeah.
But yet, like, and 90% of that shit is produced in another country. Right. So, like, Americans are like, what are you going to work to do? Well, I answer emails and I do like some whatever, and like I don't really know what I do, but it seems pointless. But I go to this office, which is completely unnecessary now. Like I have more capability to do stuff at my house than I ever will at work. You know, like
right. I think a lot of businesses are finding that out. I mean, because the rent of a building downtown.
Yeah, you have a fucking Sears Tower. What the fuck do you need that for? Like,
right.
I would love it. I would love it if industry would learn from this, because like the environmental impact that this is having is all positive. But the minute that this is opened up, we will fucking ruin that shit as fast as
we'll try to drive 3 cars to work with one person, because it's America. I'm gonna drive my truck, I'm gonna tow another truck, and then I'm gonna tow a car behind it.
Open the throttle on the other two, so they're just
revving. They're gonna be fucking running, and I'm gonna roll coal and shoot fucking shit. Like
I'm gonna get the least efficient car, and
yeah, I'm gonna buy 2 miles per gallon. Yeah, no, like, but it is amazing when you see some of the pictures and some of this like I've noticed it here. Like the deer, like somebody posted a picture in our Nextdoor, which is like a app for our neighborhood or whatever, and like it was on Lake Street, and there was just 50 deer just sitting in the middle of the street, like, you know, just sitting there. And I think that's like amazing. I mean, you could have shot. I mean, you could have shot a lot of deer, but like and the birds. There's. It seems like the birds are thriving, and the squirrels and everything.
Yeah.
You know. And I think somebody posted a picture of like Venice, like the canals and shit that look like are brown water normally, like they're clear to the bottom.
Well, they said that there's like jellyfish and stuff moving in there. It's like all wildlife is coming back into the canals of Venice and everything else.
No shit. That's really awesome. Neat.
But okay, so the industry, some of it is ego. I have a friend who she works as an education person for a wheelchair company. She travels around the country giving lectures about wheelchairs. And like me and her have talked about it, she could absolutely do a podcast, send it to that hospital. They could do it. She could do a Zoom thing where she could take all the questions that they had. That way she would not be, she spends hours going to the airport, getting checked. I mean, she's got all the fastest ways that she can do it with the Clear and all the bullshit, but it's still rent a car, go to a hotel. It's thousands of dollars every time she goes. And like she, in probably a month period, goes on 5 trips, and they're like Toronto, Vancouver, Houston. She's jetting all over the damn place. It's tens of thousands of dollars in a month that she's spending on this travel. That could not be, all that spending goes into the healthcare system, because the people that are buying her lectures are hospitals, because they're teaching their people how to work with that equipment. So they could get a webinar from them for a little bit of money that pay her for the hours that she's working, right? The problem is some of it's convention-y, right? Where they all show up at a place and then she does this hospital.
Right.
It makes those people feel important to be on a plane, wearing the company shirt,
giving a speech, meetings. People love fucking to have meetings. And one of the funny things was Pence claimed he didn't wear a mask at the Mayo Clinic because he wanted to look people in the eye, which it doesn't cover your eyes.
He's dumb. Holy shit.
Well, then he said he wasn't aware of the policy, and it's like, have you?
It's the Mayo Clinic. Like,
diving mask.
What the fuck? I mean, you're the vice president of the United States, and you're not aware of the hospital policy. Like, you're not aware of what's going on. I mean, what the fuck are we? What?
And that's bullshit. They won't wear a mask because it makes them look weak.
What's that?
He's the guy in charge of the pandemic.
They're authoritarian, and I'm wearing a mask makes them look like pussies, and they don't. That's the thing. That's why Trump won't wear a mask. That's why Pence won't wear a mask. That's why they've directed anybody that's in any kind of in charge. I saw Pritzker wearing a mask. I saw a bunch of governors wearing a mask.
He's a fascist.
Even the fucking governor of Indiana, Eric Holcomb, he's wearing a fucking mask. Those guys aren't. Well,
now, how many people would? So we're talking about like the meetings and stuff like that. You could just do remotely. If we moved to not being in these metropolises, right, where people spread the fuck out a little bit, we got plenty of square footage in this country.
Got plenty of room.
There's plenty of fucking room. So we spread out, and we don't do this thing where we all live stacked on top of each other like this. We do it remotely. Like, how many people would be up for not going to those meetings, just doing it via Zoom or whatever like that, and spreading the fuck out so that we're not on top of each other? Because then you can't spread this thing. You can nip a virus in the butt if no one's around each other. Now, on the flip side of that, socially, this is fun. I would much rather go to lunch and sit with Tom at Mexican place in Frankfurt than this, if given the choice.
Right.
But if we structured our business-wise, I don't need to fucking see those fucking people. That doesn't need to happen.
I don't want to hate, like, I was in the car business for a long time, and like those fucking daily meetings were just the worst fucking part. Like, I don't fucking care. Like, you don't have to blow smoke up my ass. I know what my job is. Like, I'm either going to do it and I'm either going to be good at it or I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Like, just don't fucking give me this, I'm cynical about that stuff. But also, like, I had my own business for a long time in the bike shop. And like, they just wanted, like, the manufacturers and the distributors or whatever, it was constantly like, oh, can we sit down and talk about this? Or can we sit down and try to sell you this? And it's like, no, I don't. Just send me a fucking email. Like, oh, you're having a fucking
business-wise, Jerry, like that. There's sales reps. They got to do that shit, right, to make their what they're selling.
Yeah.
Listen, instead of you spending the money to send Stan over here to buy
Stan, and his name is Stan every time.
Buy me lunch and all that other shit.
If your name is Stan, you're a fucking salesman. You don't have a choice.
But instead of spending that money, have Stan do a webinar or a fucking Zoom meeting where he can talk to you on my fucking phone for 15 minutes, and then save the fucking money and send me something. Send me some free swag or property or product.
Money
with your shit on. Great money. Send whatever the fuck. But you could do business smarter. Like, I'm all about, listen, expand your mind. Like, I'm down for, I don't know, we the three of us have never talked about, illegal drugs, but, and I mean, I would say I'm not a pot smoker, but I would be if it was like, if someone had it or something like that, and like I had the time. My problem is I don't have time in the day to get high. Like, I'm constantly fucking doing something, and I am not a functional fucking high guy. So, like, I'm a high guy.
No,
I'm with you. I'm the same. I'm the same guy.
Done.
But it's. I try to make time.
With the with the edibles, it not only kills that day but the next day also. So.
Right. Well, yeah, I tried that. Eric Conko gave me some edibles, and I ate way too much of it, and I was like, holy fucking shit! Like, I felt the color green coming out of my body. Like, it was not right. But I definitely have, like, good thoughts, and like, I think it expands your brain. Like, have either of you seen the Midnight Gospel show that's on Netflix now?
No.
Check that out, man. You don't even need the mushrooms.
I've done every drug. I haven't done PCP. I take that back. I haven't done PCP.
Have you done meth?
Have you done heroin?
Yes.
You've done heroin and meth?
Yes.
Really?
So heroin, wait. For me, every time I saw someone do heroin, I was like, that
don't look like, Bill, I'm with you. Like, that don't look fun.
No.
I did it by mistake. I thought it was cocaine, in my defense.
Oh.
Like, there was a classic mix-up.
It happens all the time.
Like an 80s sitcom where I guess, like, one, like, and I still don't know which is which. Like, cocaine is boy or heroin's girl or whatever. And so my buddy Chris, he was supposed to get cocaine, but he said the wrong gender.
Oh.
And then, like, we did it, and like I threw up. Like, we snorted it, and then I threw up, and I'm like, oh, this must be really good cocaine, like, or whatever.
It made me throw up, because throwing up is a great thing to do.
Yeah.
And
then we just, like, smoked cigarettes for 6 hours and listened to, like, super depressing music, and then we figured out we got heroin. And the crystal meth was another kind of.
What?
It was very early in the crystal meth era. It was another
labels on shit, Jerry.
It was another car. It was another dirty car salesman guy that we worked with, and we were young. And he said, "Do you want to come over to my trailer and snort some crystal?" And we're like, Oh, well, it's, yeah, like that's probably just like cocaine. So we did it just like cocaine, and I stayed up for 54 hours, and after that I never,
Holy shit.
Holy
both of
cow.
us were like, because we were doing it like, yeah, because when you do cocaine, like you do a bunch of cocaine and still like get drunk and fall asleep at 4 in the morning or whatever. But like, yeah,
54 hours.
yeah, it was a nightmare.
Don't you start
So
having like
you
hallucinations?
feel like you're gonna faint the whole time, but you cannot sleep. So that's, so yeah, I've done both those drugs, and no, like no addiction. Like since that meth experience, that was one of the worst,
You weren't like, man, I
times.
gotta go do that again.
No, I was like, I thought it was gonna be like cocaine. You said it was gonna be like cocaine. Like I like cocaine, right? Like,
Like the times that I did cocaine, I never woke up and said, I need to do that again.
no, the hangovers are terrible with
Yeah.
cocaine for me at least. So like, I don't like.
I never did it, so
I don't
You're
even
like a little virgin boy over there.
no, Jerry, you work at the post office. I don't want to ask you a question that's going to get you in any trouble, but
Whatever. I'm
weed,
in
right?
trouble. Huh?
No one's a weed smoker?
Oh, everyone is. What do you
everyone
mean?
at the post office is
We only get tested one fucking time, and that's when we get hired. And we don't get tested. You think they're gonna go? Like you have to do drugs, like to be a mailman or work in some of those plants. Like
I gotta go get another beer.
I do too. But no, like we get tested once right at the beginning, and then we never get tested again. I guess if you got in an accident, maybe, you know what I mean?
Right.
But our union is pretty much like, if we get in an accident in a mail truck, like they do an investigation, but they're not going to like send you somewhere to get a piss test unless well, even if you're obviously drunk, which we had one carrier that she was drunk and got in an accident, but they just took her back to the post office. They didn't like charge her or anything.
Right. I myself, I have zero interest in anything like speed, meth, none of that. Even heroin. I just don't have any interest in it. But like mushrooms and weed, like seem like appealing to me. I just don't have time for it.
Yeah. I don't know. Mushrooms, I have, again, like all that stuff, acid. I did that stuff when I was young. I can't.
I just think that corporate America maybe ought to, get some mushrooms and maybe they'd reevaluate their priorities.
Maybe. It's a powerful thing. But also, like marijuana has come into the mainstream now. So.
Right. And weed's totally different than it was when we were kids. I mean, it's way more powerful. It's, they know how much THC you're getting and all that kind of stuff. But it just seems like through this COVID situation, we should learn something, right? Something should change, that we come out the backside and we're better. These protesters, that's where I was going with that. They are like screaming and crying when if you were what America's supposed to be, you would overcome, you would adapt, you would innovate some better way to do what you're doing and stop fucking pissing and moaning, bitching about, you can't go get your hair cut or some shit like that. I mean, I don't know, invent the next flow beat, do something.
Right. Whatever. Yeah. We got to reevaluate like what important essential jobs are and how the people that do them are paid, I think, because when you have frontline healthcare workers that can't get the proper PPE and have to maybe like live in a trailer next to their house because they work in a COVID unit, like that's not cool, or in the meat packing plants, like those guys in the early, I think maybe the late 60s, like they were union. I think they still are union, but their unions, like a lot of unions, have sold their members kind of down the river and have ended up being partners with people that want to pay them less to do the same work, which is kind of what the post office is going through right now, insofar as now we are, all of a sudden this COVID comes along and we typically we're a service, we're not a business, and they've tried to run it like a business forever, but it's a business doesn't just strive to break even. So it's not a business tries to make a profit, but whatever. So like we need to reevaluate how, like if you think the mail is essential, then you have to make that job important, and you pay more for the people that are doing the actual work, instead of the guy that runs the meat packing plant, gets $300,000 a year, and the people that fucking chop up all the meat or whatever get $12 an hour. Like that doesn't.
Right. No. Right.
And then the stockholders at Smithfield get a yearly dividend, and everybody is happy.
Right. No, there's definitely. I mean, and some of this stuff, like, so that's some of the situation with the stimulus that we're talking about. These companies all got these big, tax breaks, and then they just did stock buybacks. They had no cash on hand. And then as soon as this COVID thing hits, they've all got their hand out for stimulus money. Listen, this is capitalism. If you don't have money saved up, then you can't exist, I guess, because you didn't save for a rainy day.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you're rigging. This is a rigged form of capitalism. So like
for sure.
if I'm sitting at a table with you guys and we're playing blackjack or we're playing poker or whatever, and I'm just like, well, fuck, I'm going to be stupid and I'm all in every fucking time.
That's me.
And then I lose every fucking time. But yet, like, the bank just comes and keeps giving me more fucking money.
I'm gonna do that tomorrow night, Jerry.
Right. But then you guys are like, oh well, I got all this money. I want all this money off Jerry. He's a fucking terrible. He just goes all in every time. And then they say, well, his money isn't any good, but we're gonna keep giving him more. And then you guys just get nothing.
Right.
Or like you've got a business, like maybe you have a better way of doing something, or like you could be the next Amazon, like, and you could catalog a bunch of bullshit products from China somehow and distribute them to people. No one has a chance to do that because Amazon is too big. You will be crushed.
Yeah, right.
You'll be crushed if you decide to sell bike tires on Amazon, because Amazon will take your sales data and they will exploit it, and then they will go to the bike manufacturer, and then as soon as they get tired of that bike tire manufacturer, they'll go to China and give them a bike tire from that manufacturer and say, make this for Amazon Basics, and then they've completely eliminated the small. The medium size
Congress now about that,
I guess, but
he's supposed to be
intellectual material thing, right?
I'm sorry, what's that, Bill?
Intellectual material, right? So they say that China can't take your intellectual material.
Yeah, but how can you enforce that?
I don't know.
I know guys that buy guitars from this website out of China, and it's a dude that works in the factory that he makes Gibsons, he makes Fenders.
All right, listen, you gotta at least say China correctly, right? You gotta say China.
China.
But he makes these. He's working in the same factory. He's putting the same parts in the guitar, and he's selling you the same guitar.
Right.
And Gibson and Fender are crying that they're not. You know what? Fuck you! Don't bring the fucking thing over.
Right. If you would have never brought it over there, but the thing is, anybody. Like if I've read some stories about this, like if you have some stupid thing, like, I don't know, let's say the Snuggie. Let's say you invented the fucking Snuggie or whatever.
I had a Snuggie.
I love. I have a couple of them.
Snuggie.
But you invent that, and then some dickhead sees it on the internet, and you're like selling a fair amount of Snuggies, right? It's cool. People are into it. And then some dickhead's like, well, fuck this. I can send this Snuggie over to China and get it made in some fucking sweatshop. And then I'll call it like I don't know. Give me a name that you would call a Snuggie other than a Snuggie, like something dirty, like a Chubby or whatever. I'm selling a Chubby. So like, but I'm selling my Chubby for $2 and your Snuggie's $20. So people are going to buy the Chubby, right? Like that's what they're doing.
Well,
but
sure,
somehow Apple has figured out how to partner with the government over there, because if they didn't have a partnership with the federal government, like Chinese government, we would have knockoff iPhones and they would be called like, oh, I got a Peach 7, you know, like
I got a pair.
Right, like I got a pair 7, and it's the same fucking operating system, the same shit, right?
Right, but don't they have a phone? What is it, the Huawei or whatever it is? Phone.
Yeah.
China.
Well, that's where the 5G comes from. That gives you the COVID. So I mean,
right. Well, let's talk about that. But supposedly the Huawei phone is better than an iPhone or an Android, but they won't let it be here because they believe that China has fucking like stuff in there that is going to spy on Americans.
Oh,
well, what the fuck? Who cares? That's what I think. Whoa, they're going to spy on me?
Americans can spy on Americans.
What the fuck?
Yeah, only Americans can spy on Americans.
Like, what the fuck are they going to do? Oh, Jerry was in his basement, and then he jerked off 3 times today, and then drank like 8 beers, and that's all he drinks. Like, we noticed all of that. Like, how are they going to use that against me? Like, I don't understand. Like, what's the national security emergency on that?
Speaking of your daily habits, Jerry, what can we do? So after this is all
jerk
over,
off more?
No, but do you think that people will start to rethink this whole concept of working for things, and like, because sooner or later we're going to evolve into a situation where we don't need people to like harvest resources, and everything will become mechanized. And then what do we do with all the people? We just throw in the green into, because you're not going to have jobs for all these people, but you're still going to have to feed them.
You're going to have to feed them. You're going to have to give them their stupid you're going to have to entertain them. So that's what it evolves to. Like, you're still going to have books that people want to read. You're going to have TV shows. You're going to have podcasts, all of that. But you're going to have to redefine what is an actual job and what isn't. And you're going to have to provide. You're going to have to provide, at least in this economy, because we don't make anything. You're going to have to provide a universal basic income, because you just don't. And you're going to have universal health care for everyone.
Yeah.
And the government's going to have to pay for it. Yeah, and I don't give a shit. Like, tax us 40% or whatever. Like, if that is what we need to do, like, the people that make the most money need to pay for it. Like, I was thinking about how, like, there needs to be some sort of bandwidth tax, right? Like, so if you're using a certain percentage of the commons, like, the bigger you get, like Amazon, you're using more of the roads, you're using more of the population that work for you. You should exponentially pay more taxes the more bandwidth you use. So, like, if we're using a shitload of data on our cell phone, like, at some point they're going to send you a message and say, like, we're going to charge you $20 more because you used this much.
Well, that'd be a progressive tax plan, right? And I think
kind of, but I like to call it like a bandwidth tax.
Right. Sure.
Like, if your organization is so fucking big that you're using a large amount of any community resource, whether it be like the police or whatever, like, you are going to get surcharged, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're going to enforce monopoly laws, and that's a whole other thing. Like, if you're going to bust up Amazon into 10 different companies that are regional, then you can do it that way. But otherwise, you have to have a bandwidth tax, and you use that bandwidth tax to pay for healthcare. You use it to pay for, college, so you have educated citizens, but people don't want that. I mean, I don't know why. Like, because everyone in America thinks they're going to be a fucking millionaire, and that's a problem.
Well, I think the problem roots from somebody wants to be a millionaire. I don't have any desire to be a millionaire. I don't. I would like to have enough money to do what I want to do. Like if I could do this all day long every day because I can afford to do it, this is what I would do. Like I would like to do that sort of fucking thing. But I don't have any desire in owning a 90-foot yacht or like none of that bullshit is appealing to me. I think all that shit gets old after you fucking have it for a little bit anyway. So like,
yeah, it's true. Most of the toys I've bought, like they get a little old. You don't pay attention.
I do want a drone really bad, but whatever.
I don't think that's going to cost millions.
Yeah, I mean, what the?
I mean, really nice drone, though. But then I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And
a $20,000 drone? What the hell are you going to do with that?
No, I mean, maybe I could start a business. I don't know.
A drone business?
Yeah, I've seen where they can clean stuff. I mean, I don't know, but I think it has to be a more like they could clean your roof. I could send my drone over to clean your roof, Tom. I don't know why you need to power wash your roof, but maybe you do. And there's a drone that does that. But like there has to be we have to evolve. Like we don't need coal mines anymore, do we? Or do we? Like because if we're powering
that's the question, right?
If I'm plugging in my stupid electric car, which by the way, I like it, but I don't like it's a boring car. Like I'm just whatever. But if I'm plugging it in and the power to my house comes from a coal plant, like that's not environmentally friendly, right? Like
it depends. If I think a friend of ours, he had a Chevy Volt and he figured out what it was costing when he was only using the electric part of the Chevy Volt, and it was like 50 cents a gallon to the gas.
Right. My Volt tells me how much I use on electric and how much, and like the EMPG is what it says, which is like almost 200 miles per gallon.
Right.
Yeah.
Shit.
You're still saving something because you're not using gas.
Oh yeah. But you know what I'm saving now? 100% because my car has been parked for a month.
That's part of the rethinking, right? Like you don't need a car, you don't need certain things.
Car insurance, you don't need a car payment.
Right.
You'll
need less tires, you'll need less oil changes, you'll need it just snowballs into this thing. I just hope that we can come out of this and actually learn to change something because you could spread out, not be in metropolises like that. I mean, some people like city living. It's not for me. Like, I like to live out in the middle of fucking nowhere if possible. But what do you think about, they were saying that it would be smart if you owned a restaurant in a city to just have filed bankruptcy last month and said, fuck it, I'll fold up completely, save all my resources, and then when this is over, I'll just open a new restaurant.
Well, yeah, there's nothing that prevents you except that largely since back before I had a business, any lease that you would sign as a small, if you're not like a chain restaurant, right, or a chain retailer, like anything that you have signed up for, your personal guarantee is going on, right? So like if you get a line of credit or you have Cisco, who's your supplier for your food that comes into your restaurant or whatever, like you have signed a personal guarantee. So what happens is you have to put the business into bankruptcy, but also you have to personally go bankrupt, which will affect your
so if you needed loans to restart or anything.
If you want to open something else, you're going to call Cisco and be like, yeah, I closed my business like we had a pizza place, and the right wing thought like we were molesting kids or whatever, so I shut it down, and then like did bankruptcy, and then and Cisco's going to be like, well, yeah, but like you're still Jerry Ponson, like we know who you are just because it's a new pizza place, like they're going to shut you down. So that makes it difficult to be able to do that.
Yeah, unless you had partners or wife or something else that you could do.
To put it in their name, right? Yeah.
Right.
But potentially, like if you file bankruptcy at that point and you had any kind of equity in your house, or any, like if you had some cars that were paid off, like there's a very limited amount of shit that you can keep. Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
I did it.
I also had to file bankruptcy when I was a kid. I was in a car accident and I had moved from one apartment to another one. You know, I'm a fucking kid. I'm like 20 years old. It was wintertime. I let my insurance lapse and they sent all the court shit to another address. I never responded. They gave these people a $40,000 judgment.
Right.
That's
that's the only choice you have.
Holy shit, I didn't even know I was supposed to be in court. They said, we showed us the paperwork. It said he didn't show up. You're going to get judged against. You didn't defend yourself. So I went to an attorney, and he's like, well, you're 19, so you should just file bankruptcy because you're never going to make 40 grand up to, cover that. And I did, but I was still allowed to keep personal property.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you what I would do if I was in a situation where I had my own business at, like, let's say a restaurant or a retail store that had to be shut down for a long period of time. I would borrow as much fucking money as I could right now and max out every line of credit that I had and put that in a bank account somewhere and ride it out. And at the end, if people start coming back and you can reopen, then you can use that money to reopen. Otherwise, you just put it in your personal bank account and pay your fucking house off or whatever, and let that business go away and try and figure out how to whatever, like, I mean, like, I know it sounds like theft, right? But
yeah, it kind of sounds exactly like that.
Yeah, yeah, but I
mean,
but
it's I mean, Donald Trump has done that shit like 6 or 7 times. Like he's our
president.
At least. But like, so my experience so far has been like every restaurant that I've called, every liquor store that I've pulled up curbside, every brewery that I've pulled up curbside, there's people behind me.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like I'm there by myself. I mean, I mean, not I'm sure they're hurting, but they're still operational.
I don't know if they are. I think there's a lot of businesses. If you own Meijer, you're fucking killing it.
Oh,
oh yeah,
ridiculous.
Grocery store's killing it.
Killing it. I mean,
because
think about if you own Nautilus, a home fitness company, you can't buy that shit right now. They're like, you can't buy dumbbells anywhere.
Yeah.
Bill, did you see what those adjustable dumbbells that were like $300? They're now going for like
right.
People are buying them and selling them like on OfferUp and
stupid fucking Peloton exercise bike from like 1980 that they put an iPad on. Like they had those.
That's all it is.
Back they had those fucking Life Fitness bikes at the Bally's and Matson, like 30 some years ago, and they just put an iPad on the front of it. Now it's fucking $3,000 or whatever. I think you can do.
But like the small businesses that are hurting are probably like the gyms, right? Where people freeze their accounts, and the martial arts studios, and
my brother-in-law and my little sister have like kids gymnastics gyms, right? One's in Frankfurt and one's in Burr Ridge, and
Tinley.
And Tinley, you're right. Their accountant was right on it, and they've gotten some funds from the Paycheck Protection. But if they don't spend those funds by a certain time, they have to pay them back. And the other thing is, anyone that they laid off is now making $600 more a week, is it, than normal unemployment. So because there's a federal stipend on the unemployment until the end of July of $600.
Now, don't
so
they back too though somehow?
They have to spend the money, which my sister was like, well, I don't understand now. You have to spend the money by like the end of July or whatever. Otherwise we have to pay it back. And now, the problem is with the delay, like, because they were like, we just got to lay everyone off. And they told everyone, you'll be fine because you have this stipend. If you were working full time, it's an extra $600 a week. And now, if they don't hire those people back, they have to pay that. They just have to pay that money back, right? Like, if they don't pay, and if the people say, well, shit, I'm making more money, like, just being on unemployment, please don't hire me back. Because
I heard that the unemployment had to be paid back somehow.
No, that stipend is just it's a gift.
So Jerry, when you say that they have to spend the money, they have to give it to their employees. They have
or their rent, mortgage.
Okay.
There's a large swath of things that they can pay for, but they have to spend it by a certain time. So if let's say at the end of May, Pritzker says everything's a go, like, they got to open up regardless of.
Yeah, but wouldn't they only have to pay a prorated amount back then, or like they're not going to have to pay the whole thing back, right? Yeah.
No. But I think the amount of money that they could draw is exactly parallel to how much money they would have spent on payroll. So it's not insignificant, because their structure is corporations, so they pay their own salaries through the company. So they're paying themselves with that loan.
Right.
But also there are some employees that are like, I don't want to come back. Are you going to report me if I to unemployment? If I just I kind of want to stay on unemployment.
But that gets back into the whole welfare trap. They're only going to last on unemployment for so fucking long.
I don't know, but if you're making like $500 a week working, and
but you
900,
but you're not seeing 5 minutes in front of your face. That was the Lindsey Graham argument. If we give everybody $1,200, you're not going to want to go back to work.
Maybe they won't, and who cares? Because then all the people that really want to work, that are at those protests or whatever, maybe they can take those jobs then. And I'll just stay home and get $1,000 a week or whatever.
The thing that gets me is, like, those guys are all like, I own a small business and we need to get back to work. Well, what business do you own? Like, you're being interviewed.
I sell racist signs.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, all those movements, they're selling signs, they're taking donations, they're selling T-shirts. They're doing. They're making money off of what they claim.
Well, those Door Brothers are of special kind of
human
like
being,
there's
right?
6 of them, and they're all, they're all young enough where they're very technologically savvy. Yeah. And they can all figure out how to tap into some racist or some wedge issue that causes a lot of hate, right? And people just like hate is right now in this country. I think hate is the biggest motivator of anyone.
Seems that way, unfortunately.
On either side.
It does. What? So if like the small business thing. It all goes back to, for me, if you're weighing in one hand, my friend's going to lose his business or my other friend could lose his life. I don't think there's not a way to balance that, right? Like, I can't say how many businesses are worth how many lives, because lives you can't replace, businesses you can grow back.
Right.
However that works. But the situation with that stuff and with those people, if you're so desperate to go back to work, then if you get them to sign a waiver that says, first off, we're not gonna DNR, we're not gonna resuscitate you if you have trouble. Secondly, if the healthcare system becomes overwhelmed, then you're the first one that goes in the alley with no respirator because like you decided to have it this way.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, I'm kind of fine with it. If those people can find a way to inter-community-wise support themselves, knock your socks off.
Yeah, I mean, and part of their argument, Bill, was, hey, our healthcare system didn't get overwhelmed like you said it was gonna, and it was like, you fucking dumbass! It's because of the precautions we took.
Right.
It's because everyone's staying home. It's not because
it's not because of magic.
Well, I mean, when this first started, people were posting things saying 12,000 people died of this, of H1N1.
Right.
And
Obama didn't do anything.
Right. Obama didn't do anything. And now 65,000 people have died of this.
Right.
Here's that post at now. You know what I mean?
Right.
No. Yeah.
5,000 people have died of this in 10 weeks versus a year and a couple of months for the H1N1.
I thought it was just like the flu, though.
You're right, Jerry. It was just a bad flu. But like Jerry and I were talking, it was like April 1st. Wasn't it like 4,500 people or 5,000 people had died, and all of a sudden, and now it's 65,000.
What happened?
12,000 died from the flu each year.
No, way more than that for the flu. It's way higher for the flu. The H1N1 my son was saying that. Yeah, look it up. I'm telling you, the flu is. But I know that the flu yearly is more than 5,000 people.
It's like.
No, it's more than 12,000 for the flu.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
I mean,
the flu is a lot, but it doesn't seem to be as contagious as this virus.
No.
It's nowhere near as deadly because 65,000 people died in 10 weeks.
That's true.
Well, and the flu isn't asymptomatic for 14 days. Right?
That's true.
So, like, if you get the flu,
you
fucking get the flu, and you're fucking down for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're down, you stay home from work, so you're not gonna. If you get the flu, you're not going and walking into a nursing home and being like, "Oh, hey, grandma," like you're not gonna do your Meals on Wheels route or whatever. Like, you're gonna get the flu, and you're gonna know it almost like within a day, right?
Yeah.
The gestation period of it is very small.
Yeah.
And most likely you're gonna feel so shitty that you're not gonna go anywhere, right? Like, so you're gonna stay home for a couple days or 2-3 days, and then you're gonna get over it, or you can get a shot for it too, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the CDC
which will protect you.
CDC says that 80,000 people died of the flu last year, or 2018. So
that's the whole year.
Right, for a whole year. Now we're gonna beat that in a week.
Yeah.
At 2,000 a day. We're
so a month and a half, basically, right?
Right. Well, in like 3 months or yeah. Right.
Well, and I love that, like, all these virologists that we have on Facebook that we went to high school with that were like, I think I had it in December, right? Remember, like, all these fucking people fucking like, shut up. You did not have it in December. It was not here. Like, there was no one diagnosed with it, right?
No. And the disturbing thing is that we don't, so I did see like an article that was talking about that. And then we don't know if there was a spike in pneumonia deaths or something like that. Right. It very realistically could have been here in December and we didn't know it. But, you would see a spike of deaths for sure, because it's
You would have had you would have known something was going on, right? Like most a doctor in a hospital would have been like, well, I don't know, this fucking guy died, and I've never seen anything like this. We did a CAT scan on his lungs or whatever they do, where it shows all the damage, and like, this is crazy. Like, maybe I should call someone, right? Like, that's what doctors do, right? Like, and the thing about like the argument with Ebola is
what's the Ebola argument?
oh well, like, oh, well, we didn't shut everything down for the Ebola or whatever. Well, that's because Ebola kills you like almost within 24 hours.
You don't walk
right?
around with it for a while.
You're not walking around with Ebola for 14 days, and then maybe you get sick from Ebola, or maybe you don't. Like, you get sick from Ebola and you die, right? Like,
But,
unless you're treated.
There was 3 docters.
Yeah, there was, and we flew them back and we saved them,
Well, remember that situation, the Obama was president and the non-Obamas were very upset that they were bringing those.
Oh, Trump tweeted about it.
Yes, right,
Don't
right.
bring and then you let a fucking cruise ship full of fucking people with corona come into fucking California, right? Like,
they have let 40,000 people that were U.S. citizens that were in China come back to this country.
Right.
40,000?
Yes, some crazy.
One of them is someone we went to high school with, and I'm not going to say her name, but
Really?
yes.
Right.
Her and her whole family were in. Well, it wasn't China, so I'm going to take that back. It was Hong Kong, and they had been there for years. But when this whole thing started to develop, somehow, even though they weren't supposed to let people come back, they came back and went back to Florida, where they live.
That seems a little shady. Like, that
Well,
seems
that seems like maybe her husband is like some bigwig at some huge corporation.
Yeah,
maybe.
that's what it sounds like. Yeah.
Well, but
that is what it is.
Trump's travel ban was only Chinese nationals.
Right.
It was not.
Hong Kong's pretty close to China, I think. I mean, I'm not a geographer. Or geologist? No, that's rock.
That's right.
Geographer.
Geographer's good. We'll go with geographer.
Geology does rock. No, Hong Kong is right next to China, right? Like, am I a idiot?
I thought Hong Kong was in China.
Yeah, Hong Kong is.
Oh, it is in China.
Yeah.
Well, it's.
Are you thinking of Taiwan or?
It's Hong Kong.
Okay.
So.
Right,
but I thought they're independent from China. I thought they're.
What's the place that's right next to? Is that Hong Kong?
Yeah.
Is that Hong Kong?
Yeah, where they had all the protests and shit because they don't want to. They don't want to go back to China.
They don't want to go back to China.
Technically in China, basically, or at the end of China, it's like California of China.
But the doctors with the Ebola, though, those people were heroes. Those people were doctors across borders or
right
borders. And
they fucking went in there and fucking
help.
And Trump tweeted about him coming back, huh?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a tweet for everything.
Hey, how about him saying that this was created in a lab and China should have contained it?
That was on the news conference today, and that
it was
the new Trump Barbie. She was like, "Oh, like I don't know what you're talking about," and like and then she said something that was hilarious. That was like, the intelligence agencies are more like just information, and then you can decipher it however you want to. No, that's not how it works at all. Like, they write conclusions, and
why would China make a virus and release it in China and then hope that it would get to America, right?
Gary,
like, or
why would you ask
those?
Why would you ask those intelligent questions? How dare you?
I'm gonna make a virus, and I wanted to kill. I wanted to make Trump look bad, but I'm gonna release it as far away from there. And like, if I can make that fucking virus and I want to do something to Trump, I'm just going to kill him with it, right? Like, I'm
Right.
just going to send
Right.
some Chinese guy and he's going to be like, I'm a Chinese reporter. Like, can I
Right.
shake your hand,
Touch
Mr.
my
Trump?
microphone. Yeah.
Yeah, and
yeah.
like then you got rid of him. Like, that's, you don't need to worry about like if idiot Americans are gonna like elect someone else. Like, you don't, like, it seems like you could just go right direct and just murder him.
Yeah.
Like
know-
with
know-
the virus that you
that-
engineered, which by the way I've been told it would be impossible to engineer a virus with
Right.
the technology that we have right now.
Right.
Like
Do
this.
you know if Kim Jong-un is dead?
I did see a really funny meme where they
I thought he was on a
had
train.
a
somewhere.
weekend. They had him in the Weekend at Bernie's thing where
Yeah,
they
yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
Yeah. I
That
think you
was
said.
one
I
of the
think
best ones.
Yeah. I've
Yeah,
seen that one.
was one of the best ones. I love that movie, and that's what's going to happen here. If Trump did die, they're going to Weekend at Bernie's him for at least a couple weeks.
You don't
right?
think there's these congressmen that got to put up this false act like they support him, like wouldn't be relieved if he died? Like they wouldn't go.
Everyone would be like, "Holy fuck!" But then
They
they'd be
got
like,
it over
"Wow,
with."
fucking Pence! Now we got this." But
But Pence,
Pence is a useful idiot because he seems reasonable to a lot of people, right?
right?
Like, even though he isn't
No.
quite, he's not going to go off script.
Yeah, he's not gonna go tell you to swallow
If you
Lysol
give
and
him a
stick light
teleprompter, he's
bulb
going
in
to say, and he's going to have some micro, like, he's going to talk about God a lot. And
Right,
a lot of
right.
people like that, right?
Right.
So, like, I would argue that, like, he probably, like, for manipulative purposes, like, he's not going to stoke, like, the same kind of passion, but, like, people could be like, oh, like, he's not so bad. But,
Well,
like,
I
when
mean,
compared to Trump, like,
Well, obviously, like the people that support Trump are finding ways to skew what's
Right.
being done to fit, like Bill said, to fit
Mhm.
their narrative, right?
Mhm.
Like I seen, like when I went on that Knuckleheads Facebook page today that started the rally downtown, Trump did not say,
he
swallow.
did, though. Like, I
Inject
posted the
Lysol.
transcript.
Yeah, I know,
He
but
said
they
if there's a way to infect or inject disinfectant into the body, we
Yeah.
should check into that.
Yeah,
I like his one where it was just like hit the body with a really intense light.
yeah. On both of
I mean,
those.
because he does a tanning bed every day or whatever. Like, it's fine.
When he said about the Lysol, my 10-year-old, she looked at me and goes, "Won't that make you sick?" I'm like, "Yes."
It'll make you dead.
And then when
you.
he talked about the intense light, she goes, "Wouldn't that burn your skin?" She was,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like you
My fucking
can. There's
10-year-old
no way to
knew better. My 10-year-old knew better.
Like, and I'm very. It's just very disturbing too, because you see, we have a friend of ours who has a relative that is a nurse practitioner,
Mhm.
and those two guys, was it the chiropractor and the guy
the
that
California
owns the
knuckleheads.
yeah,
Yeah.
they put out that video, and then like about the vitamin C and like all this bullshit, and like
Yeah.
like smart people are falling for that shit, and that is just like, I think there needs to be some responsibility insofar as Facebook, like, you gotta not let people perpetuate shit that is absolutely untrue.
Well,
Like, you
I-
can't.
But
it's-
Either of you guys research those two guys? Because I did a little bit of looking into who those two guys are, and from my research, they're just two guys that own a bunch of minute clinics, and then they can't just be open for, like, you sprained your ankle and you can come in there, like, so they're upset that their business model or whatever is disruptive.
Yeah.
Right? So like they've got a financial motive to do this nonsense so that they can get their businesses back open again and live their lifestyles however the fuck they want to live them. Have you seen the Dr. Buttar and that fucking Shiva? Like, you know what the story is, but you know, the it's the video with the guy with the lab coat on, and he's sitting in like a room where there's like no books on the shelves.
Right,
and, like,
right.
And then he's also like going on these like Drunky McDrunkerton rants about the Democrats and all this.
Yeah.
He's absolutely fucking batshit fucking crazy. And he's saying all this shit, and people are eating it up because they like what he's saying.
Right.
But it's so obvious that this guy is a complete fucking charlatan. Then when you Google him, he's been sued a mess of times for like ripping off cancer patients and all this other shit. And you find out that he has not been in ER medicine for over 20 years now.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's like you're when you do like a website and you can make a good one, you can wear it's like wearing a costume, right? Like, so this guy puts a fucking lab coat on, or some guy puts some scrubs on and like starts to talk, and then you're like, oh well, he's a doctor, like I should listen to him. And then before you know it, like 10 million fucking people have shared that, and then another 10 million people share it, and then 100 million fucking people have shared it.
And like you said, and the smart people fall for it, and it's like,
yeah,
just that kind.
I got messages, not like sharing it to my timeline or like, Jerry, check this out. Like, I got direct messages saying,
like, see, fucker, this is what.
No, it wasn't aggressive like that. Like, she's trying to help because like I'm scared to death over this whole thing.
Oh, okay.
So she's trying to say like vitamin C and like you shouldn't get on a ventilator.
And I get the guys sending me stuff and being like, okay, open your eyes.
Don't get on a ventilator. Whatever you do, don't get on a ventilator.
Yeah,
like,
you're gonna die if you get on the ventilator. Yeah.
I go, what the fuck?
Well, there's some truth. See, all of these things always have this little tiny bit of truth.
Yeah, there's a tiny bit of truth,
there's
right?
enough truth to get it through there so that they just buy it. Because then if you just Google that little bit of truth, then you find that it is truth. Like before this happened, the longer you were on a ventilator, the more your lungs and stuff atrophy because you're no longer doing the work.
Well, there and some of the settings on some of the ventilators were very aggressive, and they fucking
bruising your lungs and all.
Yeah, fucking up your lungs, which I can understand. But like you say, if there's some kernel, just tiny kernel of truth,
right?
They will develop this narrative, and it will become way bigger than that. Just that, like, you maybe had 1 or 2 or 10 people that had their lungs ravaged because some idiot put the ventilator on too forceful of a setting, or whatever, or didn't realize that the person had emphysema or whatever, and they fucking jammed it in, and then whatever. So you can't. Like, it's people, I'm amazed that people can craft these elaborate narratives and conspiracy theories in just a short amount of time, and then they just go like a fucking virus. Like, they just spread, and they just, they hone in on just like I have one little question, and then like you go down that rabbit hole, and then you're like, well, fuck, am I even a real person? Like, am I a puppet? Like, I don't know.
But imagine if you had to write a paper in school and you had to write it as the way Trump talks to the United States. Like, this is going to be great. And you didn't have to explain how it's going to be great. You could say, I'm the greatest, and you didn't have to support how you are the greatest. I mean, you wouldn't pass school. You wouldn't pass fucking 6th grade.
Going on that, I think that they should have Trump supporters read. Like, it's real weird. If you listen to Trump talk, like, he kind of riffs and like says all these weird shit. But if you ever read what he says, it's almost illegible. It's almost like,
Right.
what the fuck is he talking about? Like,
Yeah.
it becomes a different thing when you hear it read than the way that he's saying it. He does have a certain charisma or fucking charm that
I
seems.
watched old Johnny
tough,
Carson
right?
because like that's what I'm doing nowadays is like watching the old people channel where they have all the old sitcoms on there, like Three's Company or whatever. Like they just run a full day of like what you would have watched in like 1987 or whatever, and so or 1982, and then they end it by like with the Johnny Carson show, and like the way Trump delivers like a lot of the shit that he says, like it comes off with that kind of delivery that Johnny, now obviously Johnny Carson way funnier than
Right.
Donald Trump,
Right.
but it's that casual kind of like I'm joking, kind of like I'm serious, you know, like, and I'm comfortable because the guy's a white guy. Like it really spoke to me. Like this is like he definitely watched Johnny Carson do those monologues because a lot of the shit that he says, especially at the rallies,
Yeah.
like that is, you know, he makes a lot of jokes. He has a lot of funny names, like for people and all
Right.
that shit.
Right.
He's learned that somewhere,
Hey,
and all
watching.
that positive bullshit is some guru back in the 70s that taught like The Secret or whatever. Like if you
Right.
think it, you could be it.
Watch a speech from Ronald Reagan, and then watch Mike Pence talk.
No shit.
Mhm.
He does the head thing.
It's the same thing.
Yes, he does like a real weird like impression of Ronald Reagan.
Right. You're
He's
absolutely right.
He does
Yeah.
this thing where he kind of leans into his talk and like
It's like if Ronald Reagan was a robot.
it's real weird. Yeah, no, it's an odd thing, and I mean it's a weird cult-like behavior. There are people that are like killer Trump supporters that like dress their kids up like Trump and all that other stuff, and they're terrific, wonderful people, and they're smart. And I wonder how they suspend all critical thinking to get.
Well, that's when you get in. Is it the racism? Is it, you know, what's the
There's
underlying cause?
There's some underlying.
I'll be right back.
I think a lot of it too. Bill, you touched on this before. Like the people that are just below you or just above you, like that's.
Oh yeah. The people that are most upset about the minimum wage are the ones that are making $12 an hour. They're right above them, and they feel like they don't want you. You're the who I step on to be me.
Like my thing is, if we are like if we can't see what's wrong right now with this virus and all the stuff that's happening, and like people are fucking staying home, and like we can clearly see what these fucking essential jobs are, right? Like, is an essential job being a fucking stock trader? I opened up a stock account just because
I don't know. Is it an essential job? Because real estate broker is essential. And I'm like, really?
But I opened up a trading account just because I'm kind of mildly interested in it, and I'll tell you what, like even doing it from home, like you can map out every trade that you do, and it will give you every percentage. Like you're a little baby, like, oh, it has like 52% chance of breaking even or an 80% chance of making profit, but also 60% chance of losing all your money. Like there's a detailed analysis. Like why isn't an AI doing that? And why are we just fucking gambling? Like if I want to invest in a company and I believe in a company, there should be no like, oh, I'm going to short the company if I think they're going to go out of business. No, if I want to invest in a business and I think Bill Geithner has a good business, I'm going to give you money. You're going to give me shares. And if your business succeeds, then I get money, right? Like, why should there be some mechanism because something goes down, I get paid. Like something goes out of business, I get paid. Like
it's a casino. It's totally a
yeah.
casino. But people don't see it that way. They think it's just like what you said, that it's like, I'm going to invest in this because I think this too is great and it's going to be awesome. That's not what most of that fucking shit is. And they're betting on futures of this, and they're betting on.
It's all based on movement. If stuff moves, they make money. It doesn't matter if it goes down, if it goes up.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense at all. It's it's a crime that the government moved us away from pensions and into 401ks or into the casino.
Right.
Well, that was a way to get working people, because I'll tell you what, my dad talked about a lot of shit back when I was growing up. One thing that never came out of his fucking mouth was, "Did you see what the stock market did today?" Like he didn't give a fuck about because he didn't have any fucking stock. Like, and even if he did, like maybe he had it in like one company. Like, I got 10 shares of IBM, Jerry. I'm gonna give it to you like when you grow up or whatever. Like, like that's how it was. Like regular people didn't give a fuck about the stock market until the 401k. And then it was like every fucking dirty car salesman I worked with was like, "Oh, the 401k went up, $500 because eBay went public yesterday or whatever." And I'm like, you guys are you're fucking morons. Like, just put the money in a savings account.
Like they don't realize that if you had a pension, when you had a pension, your employer would match your contribution to your pension.
Right.
So you were making money off the employer. The 401k, the employer's matching your contribution to that. The market stayed exactly the same. You are earning money because your employer's matching your contribution. So you're always making. So then when it snowballs and the stock market does go up 10%, it looks like you're killing it. Like it looks like. So like, it's a, I don't know. It's all of it's a really bad idea as far as people don't realize that. I hear people say all the time, well, don't worry about the stock market because if you just ride it out, it'll all be fine. That's not necessarily true.
No.
Right. If you're invested into companies that go completely under and gone, everything you had invested in that is gone. It's over.
Right.
Yeah,
there's no evening
at this
out.
point, your shares in Outback Steakhouse are probably not doing very well.
Right. You're not riding out.
There's no Bloomin' Onions right now for you because you're a fucking restaurant with an bad Australian.
Not riding out that Montgomery Ward stock you bought.
Yeah, Montgomery Ward.
Come back, honey.
I think my grandma had fucking stock in Montgomery Ward and service merchandise too. So, needless to say, she died penniless and whatever. Like
service merchandise.
Any of the catalog retailers are dead, right? Like I would have thought, like with Amazon, like Sears was fucking Amazon. All you had to do was, when the internet came out, was say, "Hey, you remember getting those big, thick Sears catalogs? Like, we're just gonna do it on the internet now."
Yeah,
and then there would have been no Amazon.
But then Sears was getting bought out by people that were like, they'd buy it, they'd shred the company and sell it,
Oh, like the Danny DeVito, whatever, other people's money.
Yeah.
Or Gordon Gekko in Wall Street, right? Like,
that's one of my favorite right-wing things that they say too. Hey man, if he came up with this great idea, then it's worth. And I go, oh, that's bullshit. There was like 15 different places that were doing exactly what Amazon was doing. He just
Sears was doing it since the fucking 1800s or whatever. They were selling. You could, Bill, you could buy a house and they would deliver it to your lot. How? They can't even do that. Well, I guess they can do that. Menards can maybe do it now, but like it was a regular fucking thing. They would just deliver all your fucking house to your lot, and you would get you and a few of your buddies after your 12-hour shift at the coal mine, and you would build your house together. you know?
Right? Amazon started out as books, right? It was a
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
You would get
And it was a shitty book site too. Like it wasn't even good. But he had a shitload of money from his guess who? His parents. Like
right.
he was a rich guy.
He wasn't self-made like Donald Trump. He wasn't self-made like Trump.
Oh, was Elon Musk self-made too? Because he's like now he's endorsing the protests now, and like because you know what you don't need right now a fucking
An electric car.
$100,000 electric car because you're
Right.
not going anywhere.
Right. Right.
I don't think Donald Trump was the self-made one time. I think it was that John Barron that was self-made.
Oh yeah.
He took out a small loan
mean,
from his father. He
Right.
took out-
Does anyone have
Oh.
those tapes? I want to hear those tapes. Like no one recorded that. Like
yeah,
oh,
why,
there's
and
John
why aren't these things
Mayer,
made public?
Okay, so what percentage of Donald Trump do you think is bullshit? Like it's
100.
somewhere around like 70, 80%. It's all bullshit, right? Like
It's got to be 90%.
it's all bullshit, right? Like I mean, it's just all a fucking like persona. The whole like douchey, it's my brand bullshit.
Yes. Yes.
The only guy that's speaking out about like those old tapes is like he's like a comedian now, but he's done some interviews and he said like Donald Trump's a fucking drug addict. Like you guys can't see that. Like he didn't show up like 4 out of 5 days for the tapings of The Apprentice, and he would have to go and back and snort fucking Adderall and do all that shit because he, without those drugs, he was too nervous. Like I don't know if you've ever seen like he did very few interviews like when he was in his 40s, like very rare, like until he discovered like the power of cocaine and Adderall and all these stimulants. He was like a beaten soul, right?
Yeah.
Like he wasn't what you see, this monster that you see now.
Well,
Like he was
he's clearly on Adderall or something right now.
yeah.
Talks because he just talks nonstop, and the sniffing. The sniffing thing is fucking. I mean, I've been around cokeheads. He sounds just like someone that's on coke.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Like
I mean,
at those rallies,
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
you're on cocaine. You can anyone that can go on for 2 hours and talk continuously without talking to anyone else is on something. There's
Yes.
no fucking way.
Right.
And
You
some
don't
of
think
those
it's just
rallies,
straight narcissism. You don't think it's that?
I don't know. You got to be pretty narcissistic in your
Well,
70s to do
well.
a 2-hour coronavirus presser where, like, I guess you have an audience there and whatever, but his rallies go on for hours and he just talks and talks and talks for hours.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just surprised that he doesn't have to smoke cigarettes constantly because whenever I've done cocaine, that seems like you have. That's almost a
Right. So
requirement.
you've been in a conversation with a guy that's on coke. It always goes off the rails where he says things that you're like, wow, you're going to regret saying. They're not back at you tomorrow. Like, that's obviously racist or obviously fucked up.
But the guy on cocaine forgets about that. The guy that's listening to him doesn't. But the guy that did do the cocaine.
We're all listening to the guy on cocaine.
Yeah.
And he's saying things that are like, oh shit, did he just say that? Like he just said that thing. Like, I mean, that's how you get to say stuff like, you should see this reporter, and he does the whole riffing and like doesn't realize that he's, saying something completely fucking racist and shitty. So yeah, no, it's fucked up for sure. I was thinking when this first was breaking that, they came out with that 100,000 to 200,000 number that
it's going to be 250,000.
Well, okay, but wait. They put a time limit on it. They said to the end of May. So one more month.
Well, I mean, in 1 month we've gone up. We've gone up almost 60,000, right? In 1 month.
Yeah, Tom. Do you know how exponents work? Like,
no, I wasn't good at math. Like
I'm
3 with the little
good.
number on the top.
Get Daphne
really good with it.
because I'm not good at exponents, but I know it was that little number.
Yeah.
And so from what I understand, I'm not Dave Mundo. I don't know statistics, but I know that the more people that die exponentially, like it's related to the more people that get sick.
get sick,
So like if that percentage stays constant of the death rate and more people get sick, then easily
more
it's almost doubled every day. And I don't understand how I don't understand, first of all, why we didn't do a national lockdown. I don't know. Well, because Trump doesn't want to like piss off anybody. But
right.
that should have been the first thing we did, because we'd probably have half the deaths that we have now had we just suspended any travel, air travel, first of all. Which, did you know, you can still fucking fly wherever the fuck
Oh
you
yeah,
want to
yeah,
fly.
Yeah,
Go get a ticket to Fort Lauderdale right now and just fly there.
yeah.
I mean, you have to be nuts to do that, but you could do that. You could totally
Yeah.
just.
You could do that. There are a lot of people that would just do that because it's like $20 or,
Right, it's cheap, right?
and I got the time off work because
Right.
you know we're
That's
all
another
supposed to stay home.
I don't understand why Trump keeps saying that on the news, that we need to save the airline industry. And I'm like, I don't understand why. If it's an industry that has assets, why do we have to save?
Right.
Why is it important that those rich people stay to be those rich people when the assets are
There'll be other people that can step up and hire
Exactly.
pilots and
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, if the planes are there and you need to file bankruptcy, then file bankruptcy. Then they sell the assets. Somebody that wants to open a new airline can buy those assets, and now they have an airline. Like, why do I give a shit if United is still, or American Airlines, or what?
Right.
That shouldn't matter, right? It's a capitalist.
no, and like it's not
capitalist, right.
necessarily essential with the communications that we have, like we're doing tonight.
Mhm.
With we also, if we physically need to be somewhere, we have I don't know if like we all have Model Ts in the garage, right? Like we have cars. We got to crank them up or whatever and put gas in them, and gas is cheap. So like if you physically needed to be somewhere, I'm sure we have those things, the helicopter things, if someone is medically emergency, to transport them to a hospital.
Is there a
So I'm not
dealership
quite.
with Model T's around? Because all I got is a moped. My legs don't work anymore.
Well, I think you got a Subaru, but I mean that's kind of the same thing.
No, I know. Right. No,
But
right.
you know what I mean? Like, so like if the airlines have to shut down for a certain period of time,
Get the fuck down.
and if they go out of business, I'm sorry, like, yeah, people are gonna lose their jobs, like stewardess,
But
like pilots or whatever. But like,
if there's a demand for that in the future, when it can be open,
yeah,
there will be a person that picks up that demand.
right,
So,
right.
I don't understand why we have to make those certain rich people stay those certain rich people.
Mhm.
That's what doesn't make any sense.
you worked hard though if you get rich, Bill.
That's probably not true. The whole point of being rich is
People that are kids of rich people automatically have a head start and they get money and they go
Only
to
if
the
they
best
get
schools, and then they have
small loans from their
fraternities.
parents.
Because like if we were all rich guys, like we would just be like, oh, hey Tom, do you want to run this board? Do you want to be the CEO of my
Right.
like 10th company that's
Mary,
made
did you see
billions of dollars, and I'll just pay you because hey, we went to high school together.
That put their yachts all
Yeah.
in the thing that said "We're in this together"?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
With their yacht.
There was a aerial shot of all these yachts, and it said "We're in this together."
Oh my
No,
God.
but like, yeah, like if we grew up, like I understand we weren't the poorest people. We
weren't.
definitely weren't rich.
No.
But if any of us, like if I was running some billion-dollar company, I'd be like, oh yeah, like Tom. But if my dad was running a billion-dollar company and sent me to Harvard, and then I was in some frat with a bunch of people, and you were
Right.
in there,
Right.
and you're like, fuck, man, I can't get a break. I'd be like, oh, we'll just come in and I'll pay you $1 million a year to,
Right.
I don't know, send me a couple reports a month. I don't know what the fuck to do.
No, for sure what's going on. Part of the problem in our healthcare industry too is that there's all these VPs and stuff, but
So much overhead, yeah.
so much just bullshit stuff that the guys aren't doing anything. The with the industries that we have and stuff like that, it just doesn't make any sense that when Obama was president, he did that. He invested in some solar company or something, and they screamed hills that he's picking winners and losers. But that's exactly what we do right now: is pick winners and losers.
Oh yeah.
And it just doesn't make. I don't know. I just don't understand any of it. I don't.
No, if we're gonna have capitalism, then God damn it! In 2008, some of those banks should have went under. I'm sorry, like that's what it is.
Oh, for sure, right?
Right, like
COVID situation.
Yeah.
It shines a light on if you're a white dude, and it's affecting. I don't think it's affecting Africans and Mexicans more because it's genetic. I think it's because they're who pick up the garbage. They're the
lack of and most likely to not have health care and most likely to have 10 people in your house. Like your kids might be adults, but maybe they're not able to be on their own.
Work jobs that they can't stay at home for.
Yeah,
if you're a bus driver, you got to go there. Did you see the Chicago bus driver that was like, there was somebody on his bus videotaped him like saying, "Hey, don't be coughing in a pandemic." On the bus. 2 weeks later, he was dead.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see that?
That's why I'm staying home. I'm terrified of going and whatever.
There's a guy that's 105 years old. He had a twin that, as a 3-year-old or 4-year-old or something like that, died from the Spanish flu. This guy at 105 died of COVID.
Holy
My head was
yeah, holy shit.
His twin brother 100 years ago died of the last.
Wow.
Jesus.
And then he died of the next pandemic.
Wow, that is.
I was like, no,
man.
Well, on that note.
Yes.
Sorry, Jerry.
No, I have to go because all my shit's dying.
No. We should wrap it up. I think
my iPad's gonna die, and my earbuds are gonna die, and
it was fun again, guys.
I should eat. So.
There you go. My sons made some pasta while I was
nice
sneaking bites while I was talking there.
Nice.
But I will see you tomorrow.
Hey, every Friday, we should do this. It's cool, and I love it.
Yeah, I love it too.
Let's get Mundo back on and do some sports.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe we were too controversial about we didn't get controversial when he was on, right?
Yeah,
I think the conversation that we had tonight, if the three of us met up in a bar, we could have the exact same conversation.
I mean, that's
and then we would get in a fist fight with some fucker in there.
No, we wouldn't fight. We're too old to be fighting in bars now.
Yeah, we
Jesus
can't.
Christ.
Yeah. I would make you
I got
fight.
a bad back in my show. I can barely hold my hands above my head. Yeah.
Get the fuck away, man.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, in Dendrinos, it might not be. It probably would be a fine conversation.
we could probably get into a scrap in Dendrinos.
We would get, we would with probably some millennials or something, but whatever.
Right.
We could quickly dispatch of them.
If you're ever feeling bad about yourself, go to the OTB, man.
Yeah, right.
Parents there make you feel good about yourself every time.
Yeah.
Even better than feeling like I did at 3 a.m. at Dendrinos, and then you know what? I always felt good though after that, going to the Olympic Star and just having another cocktail and 50 cigarettes and a cup of coffee, and then a 16-egg omelet or whatever.
So I'm really close to Olympic Star, and my kids love going there for breakfast.
Yeah, hell yeah.
My nieces love that place.
Yeah.
My brother lives over there.
Yeah, your brother's right, not far from me at all. Yeah.
We got to recreate that at some point. The three of us will have to go there at 2 a.m. And
How about 2 in
just-
the afternoon? 2 in the morning.
Oh, you know what? I do.
Well,
I like that better. I like that better
2 in the
because they
afternoon.
do have alcohol. We
Yeah,
can get Bloody Marys. We can get some coffee.
right.
We can get a fucking huge
No.
6-egg omelet.
The only problem with going somewhere that used to go at 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon is you see it in the light. It's not good.
You see the waitresses in the light, but you can't smoke in there anymore. And I do know that, but you used to be able to, which was crazy to me still
We'll
to
go
this
in there,
day.
Gary, and it'll be like, holy shit, Molly, 25 years ago, you were still the waitress here.
Oh shit.
All right.
All right, you
All
guys.
right. Good night,
Later.
guys.
All right.
Night.
All right.